super scary. Oh wow, dude, she's like farted blood out. She's like, blah, and it's like a pool.
Self-destruct sequence has been activated.
Oh shit.
Which is why I encourage all of you, just go out there and compliment somebody, you know? I do it all the time.
Lower difficulty? Fuck you! Well, lower these nuts onto your chin. Dicks. Dicks. Dicks.
Oh shit, he's eating her butt. He's eating her butt. Don't eat my butt.
It's the FBI, motherfucker! Open up!
Catch. Oh shit! Later, Prince. No, I did not. No, I did not.
Shit, you're furted.
Ew.
What's up, Angel?
Ew. Damn, dude. What the fuck were you
They
drinking?
soaked. It's okay.
Thank you.
Wait, what? Groovin'.
He's not skinny.
Groovin'.
Jesus, take them now!
You didn't have to do all that,
That's about
buddy.
shotgun ammo, but there'll be more.
Let me,
Wait, what the fuck?
yeah,
I
here we
barely
go.
know you, but you seem cool. Here you
Thank
go.
you, Groovin'.
What?
Here for the sub. Oh shit, I forgot to change that. That's okay, it still fits. And I'll keep this background too, for now. At least while I play Max Payne. I'm on Max Payne 2 now. I just want to shoot some shit. Today was not great for me. Did you get that thing I sent you? I don't know what you're referring to. You sent me something? Check your DMs. See, I'm not on Discord on my PC right now. I'll check on my my computer. What'd you send me? Oh, I'll check later. You sent me a zip file. There's what's in there? Today wasn't the greatest, but we here now. We out ya. There's a clue right below it. Let's see. Green jelly. 3 Carnage rules. Oh, is this a Spidman? Carnage? Silicon Carnage? We he now. Okay, I never seen. Oh shit! Spelled that way. I just locked my computer. There we go. It is. Oh, is it one of the spitties? Is it like it's my little slang now. I fucks with it. Separation anxiety or separation anxiety and what's the Carnage one? Shit. Maximum Carnage. Probably Maximum Carnage. Okay. I'll do it as long as it's not the 4D Genesis one. Super Nintendo one's better. I'll die on that hill. Yeah, we out here. Ironically, both are in there. Oh, nice. Well, thank you, dude. I have the SNES one. I'll check out the Sega one just in case, but man, that sound chip just sounds like shit to me. Like, specifically, there are games that are outliers that are like, okay, that was good. Like Sonic, you know, that's good, but like, or even Streets of Rage. All of those Sonics slap, but then you have like the Genesis versions of some games that like are on SNES and they just sound awful to me. Like Zombies at My Neighbors sounds like rhythmic farting. It's another one that I think sounds like shit. It's on a Genesis. I don't know, most of it. But I'm just being a hater. I grew up a Nintendo kid. It's Green Apple. It's really good. Your stepmom is rhythmic farting. I'm gonna tell her you said that. You know what she's gonna say? Nothing. EB. Hi, Shawty. How you doing? Damn it! I gotta wipe this bad day off me. Ew. All right, let me shoot some shit. You guys want to see me shoot some shit? Snooze that. Let's shoot some shit. Waiting for it to launch. Got my green apple slushy thing. Oh yeah, shit. I think it was this one, and yep. Oh, I put up a watch party event. I will try my best to make it. I'll try. I should be free. I should be free Saturday. What are you gonna watch? It's triple screen buffers. Good. Let's shoot shit. I didn't announce it yet. Oh, so is it a mystery? Or you just have a nameless event? Spidey! Wait, what? I'm confused. Oh, Maximum Carnage because of the games? Is that what you're referring to, Audie? So I did use a mod for this, and it's just for widescreen. I saw the watch party notif. Okay, okay. Thanks for telling me, Audie, because Grooven didn't want to, it seems. But yeah, this does have a mod on it that does widescreen, and in my test, the gameplay's fine, but I noticed each panel for the comic, it has like a quick flash. It's a little weird, but I think it's worth it. Unless maybe they'll cut it out now. Also, let's watch the previously on Max Payne. Okay, Larkin, you're cute, Ma. No, you're cute, Ma. Thank you.
My wife
Thank you for the
and
alert.
daughter were murdered. It had something to do with the designer drug.
Are you playing your
I transferred from the NYPD.
Hello Kitty, I forgot what it's called game?
Undercover to find their killers. I got too close. I was framed for murder. With nothing to lose, I went after the Mafia during the worst winter storm in a century. My first stop was Vinny Gagnetti, a lowlife in the habit of taking his frustrations out on underage call girls. I left him bleeding in an alley after I'd gotten what I wanted out of him. I met Mona Sachs in a gothic nightclub, Ragnarok. She was a hired killer. We were after the same man, her sister's sadistic husband. I was drawn to her for all the wrong reasons. I made a deal with Vladimir Lem. The Russian was a smooth operator. He helped me get to the mob boss I was after, but I was in over my head. The government was involved. A mystery man called Alfred Woden told me the name of my real enemy, Nicole
Stream
Horn.
manager.
Woden and Horn were both members of a secret society, the Inner Circle. She was behind V, behind everything. While working for the DA, my wife had accidentally seen papers that incriminated Horn. Woden promised to take care of the charges against me if I took Horn out. Deputy Chief Jim Bavora of the NYPD was trailing me by the
I thought green apple's like an underrated flavor.
behind. Gunshots made me deaf to the sirens, but they couldn't drown the sobs of my dead wife. Mona sided with me against Horn. She took a bullet for that. Her body disappeared behind closing elevator doors. I killed Horn. I gave myself up to the police. I had enough evidence against Woden to know that he'd keep his promise. I lied to myself that it was over.
See, I think this is a better, I guess, face
My loved ones were still
model or
dead.
whatever for Max.
It wasn't
but
over.
the smirked from Sam Lake version in the first one, iconic. I saw that there are mods to make that dude in here, but I was like, nah. There was also another mod that I was tempted to add. I forgot what it was called. It has a few tweaks to bullet time, but then it also adds like a model that's really close to Max Payne 3 Max. I thought that was just a step too far. We'll keep it mostly vanilla. Yeah, I did start a test, but let's just go new game here. And once again, it only starts off with the easiest one.
God, I turned out to be such a damsel in distress.
They were all dead. Love kills. Did I love her? Was there a choice? The past is a gaping hole. You try to run from it, The more you run, the deeper, more terrible it grows behind you. Its edges yawning at your heels.
He said gaping.
Your only chance is to turn around and face it.
With Spider-Man, though, I'm gonna guess it's the first Tobey Maguire one.
But it's like looking down
It's just
into
a
the
guess.
grave of your love.
Well, let me go check.
Check the area. Hold your fire.
Or kissing the mouth of a gun.
Let's
A bullet
see.
trembling in its dark nest, ready to blow your head off.
We're losing him.
Wait.
Multiple gunshot wounds. Pupils blown. Head trauma. God only knows what else.
He's in shock. Start 2 large bore IVs. Get him to ICU.
He's not responding.
I can't find
This
it.
site is a train wreck. We're losing.
When I woke up in the hospital earlier tonight, I thought it couldn't get any worse. I opened my eyes, and everything slid into focus. She was dead.
Imagine not looking at the events. Oh yeah.
I was hurt. My
Oh,
cry,
Spider-Verse.
what I had
Nice, that's a good
done
one.
Was like a hungry
Yeah, I'll try to
pig
be there.
behind me. I had to run. Get as
Usually
far
what I
away
do,
from
because
it
I
as
kind of forget
possible.
there is like an events tab, I'll just put it in like
world
the
was
announcements.
out
I
of
thought
joint.
that's where it would be.
I was hallucinating.
Don't judge me.
I had to get away.
Oh, there was also some stuff with reshade that I wanted to do, and there's like graphics mods. But I don't know. Not for my first playthrough. Well, this isn't my first playthrough. Technically, I played it in 2014, 15, 16, something like that. I didn't put it there yet. Yeah, I noticed.
Payne.
Oh, excuse me.
Sorry.
Also, ready to add new redeem? Shit. Can't wait to see that. I like your redeems. Oop. That feels pretty good already. Oh shit. Oh shit. The sensitivity might be a little high. Let me switch my... My mouse has one of those little sensitivity swap things. It has like 4 presets. That feels good. Yeah. Yeah.
Max, what's going on?
Hello? Anyone there?
About what happened.
I would fuck her.
Look way better than it did on PS2. Who'd have thought? Oh shit. I did add a redeem recently. Sweet. I'll check it at your next stream. I feel like I might have redeemed it. I don't know. Well, it's just like new. I just haven't seen it yet.
There was a blind spot in my head. A bullet-shaped
Somebody else
hole where
added
the
some new
answer
redeems.
should be.
Forget who.
Call it denial.
Was it you, Grooven?
I wanted to
Was it
dig
you?
inside my skull and scrape out the pain.
I need to mix up my redeems too.
Dr. Magdalena from ER. You can give away the bed you were holding for me. That detective we were waiting for was DOA. She's headed for the morgue.
DOA. Dang. Oh. No one used the redeem I added when I hit 275.
I'll deal with Payne. He's as good as dead.
Freeze, NYPD! Found him.
Do it! Oh shit. How many followers do you have now? Can I open these? Man, I miss this look, you know? Like everything is just a texture. You bet your ass I'm gonna check every cabinet and pantry. For her, I'm a burr. What up? What up, True? How you doing?
She's one of them. She's here to
281? Nice. Not bad. Not bad at all.
Winterson.
What are you up to, True? How's your night going? More importantly, did you see the thing I text you? My peanuts. No, I'm just kidding. True. Yo, I saw your text. Looking amazing so far. Yeah, I wanted to like call you and I actually apologize. Like I have been working on it. I'm just slow. Can't wait for the final product. That's good to hear. Cause it'd break my heart if you saw it and you're like, the fuck is this shit? I just put a lot of pressure on myself and I say yes to every goddamn project that crosses me. I'm like an idiot. I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. But it's been too long on yours, so I'm gonna hunker down. I'm gonna get it done.
The Pink Bird Mental Institute.
Hey, that sound like? I'll give you a clue to what the newest redeem I'm working on. It's called The Narrator. Narrator? Is it the narrator from Scott Pilgrim? Or... The narrator. Is it like text to speech? You should do text to speech of like David Attenborough or something. That's the clue. I fucks with it. I fucks with it.
Paranoid schizophrenic.
What are you up to, True?
You are insane. Psychotic. You have to eat plenty of pills.
How's BB?
They lied that I had killed my girlfriend. John Mira came
This
to
story
Mars
that's playing right now is like my favorite show within a something, you know?
The flamingo was with him.
Ads, it happens, it happens.
Claimed my girlfriend had turned evil, joined him.
She has dyed her hair red.
I smashed the mirror. I'd kill them all.
Address unknown.
Stay tuned as Address Unknown continues.
Love that show. I'm excited.
Hey!
Jim Bravura. It's a pretty good looking model.
You're not going anywhere.
Nice fucking model.
What happened out there? You did it. Internal affairs was breathing down my neck. Did you do it?
The
you
narrator.
killed her.
No, I can't.
Oh! Jim, no! It's okay. Canonically, he survives this. He lives.
Bullshit.
He lives like another few years, and he dies of like a heart attack or something. While retired, as you should.
Damn.
They were after me. It was my fault. You can't run from your past.
Not my
You'll end up running in
guns.
circles. Until you fall back down to the same hole you were trying to escape from. Only the hole's grown deeper.
This way. And this way.
I had tried to run from it, edit it out. Winterson was dead. I was a murderer.
Ah, the final destination. What's in that bottle? Shampoo? Also, not up to much. Watching you and getting some work done. Nice. What are you working on? Don't mind me asking. Set?
A false start. The hospital bed wasn't the beginning.
Maybe just went down about 30 minutes ago.
The fatal choice already made.
A cute ass kid.
And it would get worse before the end. The past is a puzzle.
If I ever have one,
like a broken mirror.
I just hope they're like
piece it together.
just like half as cute as your kid.
Their image keeps shifting, and you change.
Planning stuff. I got more.
Destroy you, drive you
into
mad.
planning lately.
It could set you free.
I could use a bit more planning on my end. I kind of just wing it, and it gets me into trouble.
You'll see the choices you didn't know you'd made, like staying at work late to chat with a friend, instead of hurrying home to your family.
Fan out, people. Circle around. Cover
She looks
all
like
the exits.
Kissing her.
Something.
I think of the cold
Like, you know, like those weird
cause
plastic
and
masks
effect.
that people put on? They're like turn to oh shit.
Call Central. Every available unit here now.
I am afraid, but I start again from the beginning. Trace my own
Thank you for the redeem.
scene of crime.
Yeah, that was funnier before.
Punished for what I had done.
You know,
But Alfred
recent
Morgan
years.
had kept his word.
So I might want to swap
With his
that out.
influence, ridiculously, I had emerged from my history of violence unscathed.
I've just been lazy.
A hero.
Okay.
Враг сзади по левому флангу! Left the DEA. I went back to where I started out. Back to the job.
What the fuck you saying?
The NYPD. It's mine. I'm on it. It wasn't a call for a homicide detective, but I knew.
Is this
the warehouse belonged to Vladimir Lem.
Is this my version of the pooping
He
cat
was connected to
in Jay's
organized
stream?
crime. We went back a while.
Thank you for the
Like
redeems,
brothers caught
boys.
on opposite sides in a civil war. His words.
Nah, too expensive. Good. Honestly, there was one stream. Was it Max Payne? I actually forget. It might have been Max Payne, but that shit was like constant. And I was like, all right, man, you guys are really in my streams. To go for that many. I love Ted.
Unknown number of armed groups inside. Possible hostage situation.
10-4, backup is on its way.
I'm going in.
I try to make the ones that block all the screen more expensive. Balance it out. Classic. Classic.
With no way to deal with the past, I kept my eyes on the road.
They're like, look, we
Off
got
the
physics
rearview
too.
mirror and the road
Take
killed
that,
behind me.
Half-Life.
I chased lesser mysteries, other people's crimes.
What was bigger on this time? This is what, like 2003? 2004? I like his little run. He kind of has like a little happy run. Max has some pep in his step, you know? He's also slightly bow-legged, but it's fine. That one day Black Card was dreamed 100 times. Dude, like I'm pretty sure like it legit. Jay said he was triggered. But I want to see it. I want to see like how like if he got visibly pissed or upset by it. That was Resident Evil 0, and that was probably one of my favorite streams.
Stranded in the dark and violent night, Dick Justice, a lone, hard-boiled fugitive cop.
Just so you guys know, I'm gonna watch every episode of every show in this game I can. Oh shit.
City's heart of darkness. The rain was coming down like all the angels in heaven had decided to take a piss at the same time. In a situation like mine, you can only
Can't wait for
think in metaphors.
can't wait for someone to redeem the one I added when I hit 275 followers. I'll take a look. When are you streaming again? Friday? Right? We only stream parts a week, right? Alright, I'll take a look Friday. Well, shit. I'm at the office on Friday, so I will actually miss your stream. I'm sorry, buddy. I got encouraged to go because they're doing this stupid basketball thing. I don't care, but they want us to be there, so I'll go. Oh wait, there's another episode?
This week, television is as fun.
Oh, also, because I'm one of those guys. Give me them subtitles. Boy. Oh.
As mirrors, 2 days and 2 nights.
Is F5 safe? F5!
Series Address Unknown.
I was under the weather on Tuesday. It happens. Are you feeling any better, dude?
To Sender Marathon.
Yeah. Good.
A glass of Gold Touch.
I think it's just commercials now. Sorry, guys.
Feel rich and famous.
Glad you're feeling better.
NYPD.
Whoa,
Is it like one of those, just like a day flu?
Just cleaning
you know?
the place.
A day cold?
Come on, officer, it's all legit. I work for the squeaky cleaning company.
You didn't hear anything suspicious just now?
No,
yeah, I remember the
no.
chair wedged my
wait.
hand.
You mean the gun
I wedged it
workshop
between the chair and
upstairs.
my desk.
Take me there. Move.
Sure, officer, if that's what you want. You know, officer, you cops got it easy.
Perp's disguise didn't fool me. He was leading me into a trap.
With something. Yeah.
The perps were masquerading.
Yeah, I already feel better. It just takes shooting people. In a game. Killing is wrong. There should be a new, stronger word for killing. I forgot the line. Like bad wrong. Or badong. Yes. Killing is badong. I still got some tweaking to do with the narrator redeem before I make it public. Alright, well hopefully, well, like I said, unfortunately, I will miss your stream because I'll be at the office, which sucks. But wait, how do I do this? Oh, there we go. But hopefully I'll catch it on Tuesday. And I'll redeem it then. Also, I gotta add some PTO. I gotta fill that stuff out too. This way. Yeah. I'm really curious on the narrator. You can probably add like, what? Oh, hold on. I'll be right with you. You can probably add something like from what's that fucking game?
That's what it is. We're trying to clean the place.
Stanley Parable.
They should have more sense than to bleed on the floor.
Bowie, you are a job horror. I mean, I have an actual like 9 to 5. You know? It's not that I'm a horror. It's like I gotta survive. You know what I'm saying? I am working on less like side projects though. That is still a bit of a thing because I have a queue that I'm working through. But as of right now, I'm not taking on side work until I finish my plate. And I'm like almost done with it. I'm at the sign gigs. Yeah, no, I'm working on that. I'm aware. And this latest bout of burnout really proved that to me. Burnout sucks. I mean, like genuine burnout. Yeah, that happened a few months ago, and I just had like a weird like creative collapse. You know, I just don't want to do shit after that. I feel bad about everything. That's one of those things too, where it's like once you snap out of it, I'm like, I'm sorry, guys. Because like I have friends, they'll reach out and they're like, "You okay?" I'm like, yeah. But I recognize it now, and I'm working on it. Yeah, I figured that's why I'm not asking about the one thing. Yeah, I feel bad about that one too. That one actually will take a lot of like minutia, you know. Like I could ballpark it with the AI thing, but then I have to get in there and, you know, do a little Photoshop work. But as I mentioned to my boy True, I have a lot more time to work on these things since
the answer machine
quitting my other, like that was like a legit another side job. That wasn't even like an ongoing gig. That was a job. And I really needed to just scale that back a little bit, you know what I'm saying? Feel me? But I appreciate your patience and understanding. I know that sounds like corporate speak, but that comes from the heart.
I'm not here right now.
Oh, it's one of the most in-depth things I've asked.
So leave a message after the beep.
You have one new message.
Sweet.
God damn, this is good. You want some?
Flood here to be a gun in your gentle care. Ah, man can. Sorry I couldn't be there as promised. Something's come up. Nothing to worry about. Keep an eye out for trespassers. If anything happened to you, anything comes up, just whistle, and I'll be there.
You have no new messages.
There's like a shotgun or something in one of these. Yeah, I have not played, like I said, I played this one just to test it like 2 days ago. But I actually haven't played through this game in fucking forever. Like I want to say it's been about a decade for this one. Because I remember last time I played 1, I finished it with 2, and then that was somewhere around, like I said, 2014, 15, maybe 16. I want to say. I played through it. And this is my first time playing this on PC. I played it on... I used to own 1 and 2 on PS2. And then when I got my 360, I played the Xbox versions. And that was the last time I played it. Good shit. I knew when I asked it would take a while because of how much detail I went over. Yeah, there's quite a bit in there. But
enough chit.
It's something I can revisit soon. First, what up, B90? How you doing, my boy?
Wait, the mob guys attacked us. I have no
Are you a
beef
Max
with
Payne
you
fan?
guys. You took them out. Listen, I work for Vladimir.
Honey, you work for no one.
I'm doing alright.
What do you want? We
I kind of hate it today.
NYPD,
but
drop them.
I'm over it now. I just want to shoot people in slow motion. I maybe played an hour of it. You're missing out.
Finish her!
Oh God, no!
No!
Like all the bad
I played
things in
through
my
it.
life. It started
I
with
played
the
through
death of a woman.
the first one on Saturday, and then a 12-hour stream. For the watch speed runs out. Oh yeah, I'm not good enough for speed running, but it's just good old fun. I see some people, they come in and they just fucking do some crazy shit.
Tunnel with her afterwards. We need to wrap this up. Kaufman wants us to move.
Heads up. I just one cycled Majora's Mask. Does one cycle mean like in one sitting? I'm not sure if I know that term. Oh shit. Oh nice. The overlay, because it's not meant to be played in widescreen. That's funny. Yeah, that's an easy fix on the monitor side. I mean, beat all 4 dungeons and the final boss in one cycle. Okay, so it is. That's what you mean, like in one sitting. I don't think I've ever heard it referred to as one cycle. I like that. Oh, dude, it fills up. Can it overflow? Or is it gonna hit the little... Hold on, that overflow part? Let me see. I'm easily impressed. Yeah, okay, yeah, it hits that line and it kind of stops. It's funny. Ha 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 ha. When I hear people say one cycle, my nerdy ass thinks of that show. You've seen Reboot. You've seen everything worth seeing, Ruben. Remember Reboot? Reboot. Boop, boop. And then they turn into like a ninja or something. Yeah, someone remastering Reboot. Okay, you gotta keep me updated on that. Oh shit! Do it, motherfucker!
You're done for.
No! No!
We're leaving! Out now! The back door! Don't wait!
Yeah, I went... Everything went wrong. Everything went wrong there. Yeah, I didn't know that was a thing. Said Joby is on. And Jay said more like Slowy. Of course. How you guys doing? What up, Garth Brooks? Did you ever watch the Max Payne movie? Ugh. Yeah. More like Max Lame. What up, Jay? Hopefully they remaster Beast Wars 2. I like Beast Wars. That's what got me into Transformers. That was my first Transformers show. Joey disliked a thing? Yeah. We've been over this. They made a Max Payne movie into a game now? Nice.
Finally.
Hey!
What are you guys up to? Just hanging out? You guys playing anything cool?
Mona?
Max, we
Well,
gotta
it's
stop
Screamtail.
eating like this.
Is a Pokemon just straight up called Screamtail? In 2008. Oh yeah, he knows. He's just trolling. If you notice, he said they turned the game into, or they turned the movie into a game. Yeah, man. Almost all the lore comes from G1 and Beast Wars. Yeah, because Beast Wars is like a sequel prequel. After the great upgrade. Oh, because of time travel. And, you know, they go to prehistoric Earth.
If you think nothing can get to you, you're lying to yourself.
Oh, well, I'm dumb. No, you're good.
Dead. A lightning bolt can reanimate you without a warning.
The Matrix of Leadership comes from Beast Wars. Yes, yeah, I do.
My backup had arrived, but the cleaners were slipping away, making a run for it.
Ah! Smack my bitch up, man. Oh, there's also a mod that I wanted to consider playing. But like I said, this is my first time playing it in years, and I want to do that to myself. But it's called the cinematic mod, where there's a few tweaks to bullet time, but then they also added like licensed music tracks during some of the action sequences, like Trip Like I Do, like Crystal Method and shit. I thought that was hilarious, but a bit too much. Oh shit! Guys are supposed to be able to lead. What the fuck's a Screamtail? I've never heard of a Pokemon called Screamtail. They really stopped trying. I got them mixed up. Actually, the Allspark. Oh! Oh, that was cool. Oh shit. Shark kind of blows. Do I have automatic weapons pickup? The other thing? Turn that shit off. Auto weapon change. Yeah, cut it out. You're gonna get me killed. Also, F5. Basically, you should go to the 86 movie. You mean... Oh, it's all over there. I was gonna be like, this 86 movie? Because I had it here, because I had it on the other day.
Max!
It's like Winterson, right? Is that this bitch's name?
You alright?
Yeah, Winterson.
I'm okay, damn it.
Hey, we're working together on this.
Got your stepmom's 86 movie.
You got sloppy, Payne.
The fuck you say about my stepmom?
It's unacceptable that she's dead. You can do better.
I played it as business as usual. But everything had changed the moment those elevator doors opened to reveal Mona. Annie Finn was a licensed gunsmith, licensed dealer in firearms.
Right.
Another!
The property owned by Vladimir Lem. 3 groups. 1, DOAs who had connections to Russian OC.
Identified as Finn's employees.
2, the Mafia. And 3, the clowns wearing the cleaning company jumpsuits.
They mentioned a name.
What's going on in your neck of the woods?
This one's evil. It has only started. I don't like it. I don't like it a bit. It's yours, Payne. It makes no sense. For you, Winterson, homicide, Sebastian Gate. It's gonna be all over the news.
The senator?
Winterson was the ideal. What the job was all about. Someone to look up to. Bravura knew it too.
We got
I
lucky.
beat Ghost Trick.
There's an eyewitness.
I really like when I played of Ghost Trick. I added it to my 3DS, and I started it. I do want to stream it.
I didn't want to listen. Mona was
like
the
the remake
suspect in Winterson's case.
Remaster?
I didn't tell them I had
Those are
seen
completely
her.
new assets,
I wanted
though.
to stall.
So does that count as a remake?
Maybe it was because she was alive when everyone else kept dying on me. Survivor's guilt washed away.
Detective Winterson's phone.
Give me that.
Your boyfriend.
The computer search in the squeaky cleaning company in Kaufman had come up empty.
Actually, the game is mostly 3D, so I guess they could just
get his version.
Scale it.
Be the bearer of bad news on Annie Finn. Vlad had bought the old Ragnarok nightclub. He was renovating it into a trendy restaurant, Vodka. Mona's appearance had triggered a dislocation, schizophrenia. I felt elation.
The line's so thin they can go either way.
Fear that all the past
I mean, I think there is a clear distinction, but there are some where I'm just like, it's a bit of both. Because like, there's more than one kind of remake, right? Like, there's the ground up remake that's pretty faithful, like Medieval or like the Crash Insane trilogy. Those are remakes because I think they're new assets, you know. The remaster, I think, kind of gives something a facelift using existing assets. And then there's also like one of those like reimagining remakes, like Resident Evil 2 or Silent Hill 2.
Memories of
the remasters count as a remake.
Lurked in the shadows. A musty smell.
Yeah. I mean, because those are all redrawn sometimes, and they're like a hodgepodge, different versions too. Like Even Final Fantasy 1, that's like a mix of like. I think it has the no, does it have the content from the Game Boy Advance versions? But I know it's based on the Wonderswan. Even though I wish those had options, like, hey, do you want to make it look like the fucking the NES version? That'd be dope.
Help! Stop him! 2 men get it! And he's down.
Shot him in the back like a coward. Oh shit! I'm still jealous of your Pixar remasters, bastard. I want it for $20, right? That's what you said. You got it like in a bundle basically. But because of that, like you got the mystery game for $20, and it was fucking the Pixel remasters. Worth. I got it digitally because it was on sale. Blind purchase for 20? Yeah, dude.
Nothing to worry about, baby. I'm going to be all right. When haven't I been all right? Max is here now. You know Max. I'll call you when it's over. I love you, baby.
Vlad was a
I love you
perfect
too, Vlad.
gentleman, reassuring his girlfriend, someone other than Annie.
Just checking. You can't be too thorough, you know? Oh! Mike the Cowboy. See, I like the way they died.
Yo, Max Payne.
Yep. Oh wait, no, wait. I'm sorry. Dude, don't run up on me like that. I thought he was a bad guy. What was my last save? Oh fuck. Alright, it's not that bad. Can I skip? I can.
Memories of my previous visit here lurked in the shadows. A musty smell under the coat of new paint.
Alright. Do it again, but quit sucking, Joey. Don't kill. What's his face? Mike.
With the biggest mobster body count ever. But I'm busy dodging bullets and hiding under a desk at the moment.
Vlad's a cool character. I liked Vinny Cogniti.
Someone was talking on the other line.
Nothing to worry about, baby.
Don't worry, baby.
When haven't I been all right? Max is here now. You know Max.
Don't forget to save, baby. Hit F5.
I love you, baby.
Vlad was a perfect gentleman, reassuring his girlfriend, someone other than Annie.
It really is cool seeing like the bullet projectiles. You know, you really don't get that in games, even nowadays. Can't believe I'm an idiot that tried to immediately shoot him. What up, Mike? You good?
Yo, Max Payne.
Yep.
Afraid so.
Max, I'm Mike, Vladimir's friend. You are the sheriff. How about
What's up,
making
Mike?
your deputy?
Let's go bail out your boss before he talks us all to death.
Let's ride.
Just checking. Oh shit, you good? Don't shoot me, please. Okay. Best part is it's a physical copy. I know it is. I want it. I want it. I want it bailed.
They asked for you. Just follow the trail.
I'm going to watch this.
Very funny. Baseball bat.
Adventures of Captain Baseball Bat Boy, episode 165. Captain Baseball Bat Boy's girlfriend.
Yeah, she's not my girlfriend.
Hey, it's like chowder.
Captain Baseball Bat Boy's arch nemesis.
She's not my girlfriend.
That's more.
I'm not even mad about
like
buying Picture Masters on Steam prior.
Girl has been kidnapped
I mean, that's fine, that's convenient, but just for the sake of a collection, that's definitely something that you want.
To save her, Captain Baseball Bat Boy must battle through a horde of demons minions. The freaking zombie demons from outer space.
Freaking zombie demons from outer space. Where's that movie?
He's loaded. Fastball. Ugh, foul ball. Grand slam.
How much do you guys think this TV weighs? Look at that. This is a two-man job moving that thing around.
Captain Baseball
Yeah, it's
Bat
like-
Boy has hit a home run.
It's like wider than Max. This reminds me of that one CRT I had. Trainer salted.
Find
Stupid.
out in the next episode of The Adventures of Captain Baseball Bat Boy. Go.
Worth it.
Jesus Christ, apocalypse now. Got some heavy shit here.
Supply guy, bro.
Anderson would have found a way to do this nice, neat, and clean. Logic told me backup should be on its way. Someone must have heard the gunfire. Logic was such a liar.
Teeth. The whole set for a tooth. The only way to do it. Hey, Chip, one of ours, we go dental.
Ah.
We'll get there. Up the stairs.
Oh, the mod I saw also lets you cancel out of bullet time if you do a shoot dodge.
Going down.
Oh shit. Bitch.
Die, die, die.
Did I give him in the head? Nope. Nope, no you. Okay, alright. Oh, thanks, Mike.
Max, my friend. It was fun for a moment there. But my gun doesn't have unlimited ammo. If you can, hurry.
Big trouble.
I'll be right there. Oh shit, that was bad. Why did I do that? This is why I'm just lazy. Alright, Mike, just don't get in the way. High five. This is the same level from the first one, kinda.
Vlad wouldn't be able to hold on much longer, if it wasn't too late already.
Who you shooting? Who you shooting?
Shoot!
Oh shit! Okay. Damn, locked and loaded. Walt Stantler? But wait. Desert Eagle baby!
There he is!
Wait, painkillers. Painkillers.
Give up, Vinny. They're coming to take you away. Can you hear them? Shut up! Shut up! Come on, Vinny. You're not really cut out for
Damn. Damn. Where they at? Go. You good? Yeah.
Die, Russian! Fucking die already!
Wait, I thought Vinny Gagnini died.
You're not even trying.
Hang on, Vlad.
Max!
I'm coming.
I'm looking too excited.
No, Payne! Not him! Fuck, fuck, fuck! What are you waiting for? Circle around and
Vlad's
kill
got some
him!
nuggets
Kill the
up in
cop!
those caves.
The way your hands are shaking, you couldn't hit a truck.
High five. I'm gonna get back in the habit of quick saving.
Payne! You fucking pay for this, Russian! You fucking pay!
No fucking pay. You can pick your friends
My
and you can pick your
hero.
nose, but you can't
You can pick your friends and you
nose.
can
Oh.
pick your
You
nose.
saved my
But you
life.
can't pick your friend's
I
nose.
could kiss you.
I think you could. No.
Vinny got
What's a little nose picking between two consenting adults, you know what I'm saying?
He is wiping out everyone he sees as competition on the black
What?
market country. The mafia
Cyber! Yeah, but why not? Exactly. Dude, thank you for the sub. Thank you so much.
What was it you did for a living again?
Scout Tunnel Detective, I have mended my ways.
You know where that goes.
Evolved to a higher level. Vodka will be the best restaurant
How you doing,
in
Cyber?
the city. I'll be rich and famous. Annie was a princess. They killed her for no reason.
What'd it do?
You hurt your hand just now?
A hot date yesterday. Can I tempt you?
Let's pretend I'm on duty.
Thank you for the sub. Good playing Borderlands 2. Nice. Who are you playing it with?
Holmes.
Oh, Jay and them?
Something
Is that what they're
in the
playing?
night felt like a door had been opened. An echo of the past.
Fine, if that's what you're
An old
into. I'm not here to
monster
judge your
snapping its
kinks,
eyes
just
open
Joey's
in the
gameplay.
depths of my brain.
I'm not that bad.
Closing your eyes forces you to look at the darkness inside.
And now, address unknown.
I hadn't slept
What's
for
the
a
difference
long time.
between a priest and
When I
Woody from
did,
Toy
my
Story?
dreams were
Woody
nightmares.
goes limp when a child walks in.
I was trapped in a nightmare.
Nice. Very
My evil
nice.
double had taken my girlfriend.
In a nightmare, every choice you make is a wrong one.
Following him, I had somehow slipped into a twisted alternate reality. Noir, York City.
I would wake up at night, afraid that day was a dream I'd forget.
Yeah, that little flicker it's doing. Sorry. I think it's because of the widescreen mod.
My double was
Welcome back,
John
True.
Mira. He was the devil incarnate, a fallen angel.
The flesh of fallen angels.
He was a serial killer. He had framed me for his murders. I was hiding in a cheap motel.
I'm going to watch this.
I woke to a knock at my door. Someone slipped a note under the door.
Who is
It was a
it?
clue.
Yo, sorry. Wait, what are you sorry for?
Sent it into a mystery.
I had to grab food. Oh, I do apologize, dude. I said before, I don't expect anybody to sit here and watch all of the stream. I appreciate you checking in at all. Go eat, boy. What'd you get?
What do you call a book club that's stuck on the same book for years and years? Church.
Gross. Occupado. What are you up to, B90? Man, I want pizza. Is that cheese pizza? Or is that pineapple? That's like chicken, huh? That's like a chicken pizza. See, he's got some CDs. I Love New York. Late Goodbye from Poets of the Fall. And I'm gonna pretend that's like Code Veronica on Dreamcast. That's the only blue disc I can think of. Look at that, Jazz, because I dislike my employer and watching you. Amen, brother. Good luck, dude. Here's got some CDs nuts. Nice. They go through the boxes. Yeah, good luck on the job hunt. Never fun. McDonald's and chips. Part of this nutritional breakfast. At least you don't got seedy nuts. I mean, I have seed in my nuts. Does that count?
Max.
I mean, I can hang on for now. But there could be one day where I just tell him to pound sand and quit. Only if they are watermelon seeds. Racist! And I feel it, dude. I think of who my worst boss was.
Max, sorry I woke you.
Probably... Her name was Donna.
Tell no one.
And I worked at the Adventure Dome. Hated that woman. Wait. Oh, there it is.
Nothing to worry about, baby. I'm going to be alright. When haven't I been alright? Max is here now. You know Max. I'll call you when it's over.
We need to hit the place now. Payne's in there.
They know that you know. You must run.
Max Payne! Drop your weapons and come out with your hands above your head!
And not my boss, but the district manager when I worked at GameStop was also kind of a cunt. Run! Uh-oh. I don't have a gun. Oh, good.
You don't need a lawyer. Just tell us what you did.
Payne, you're done. Everything you say will be used against you.
What are you
The
hiding?
best boss I ever had was Joey's stepmom. She would bend over to help
People
at
get
any
near
time.
you, they die. You killed your family. You killed them all.
Confess.
Do I get my phone call?
I'm glad she was
You
good to work
already
for.
got it.
You should put that on your resume.
Don't push your luck. Sit down.
We're just getting
Put
started.
it down now.
Drop your weapon.
Bitch! I didn't want to have to do that! Oh, wait. No. My boss underbids jobs and puts stress on us to make up for his screw up and then makes snide remarks thinking he's funny. Yeah, that would piss me off too.
When you're waking up, the world is a
fucked.
blur. What was clear in a dream suddenly makes no sense. No surreal rescues, no easy, magic way out.
Yeah, that would get to me. Sorry to hear that. Have you talked to him about it?
But you are awake.
Makes me want to punch him in the face. Well, don't do that. But I know the feeling.
I had woken up to a knock at my door. Mona, I was wondering when you'd show up.
Max.
Do it.
I'm not here to kill you.
No, I probably wouldn't care.
Aren't you going to ask me
Do it.
in?
Mona, Mona, Mona.
You are in danger. Both of us are.
What up, Jay? You're playing
There's a
Borderlands 2 as well?
contract
Sold.
There's no us.
All right, we'll do it and let us know how it goes. Okay, you gotta fill me back in.
Should take you in. I was hiding behind the badge. The real thing is never what you think it will be.
Jay plays by himself because he don't like us. He doesn't like anybody.
They found me.
Doesn't like anybody or anything.
This was a mistake.
Wait, Mona.
He's a bitter old man.
She'd woken me up.
No, I'm playing my own game. I want to play Borderlands since I'm going to stream it. That's fair.
I had to catch her, find out what was going on.
That's because he doesn't want you to know he quit another game. Joey, and I added a new program for my streams, and it was a ridiculous troubleshoot. Any more detail? What program?
It's me, Max. I'm at home. Sniper outside the window. Sounds like more gunmen behind the door, closing in. I need help.
Max? Oh, okay.
Just said, I like the game. I just not playing with you too. Direct quote. That I believe.
Can't talk. Don't know. Gotta go.
I believe it. Oh. Oh, damn it. I'm just trying to open the medicine cabinet. Yo! Look at that. Imagine seeing that in the mirror. You're brushing your teeth and all of a sudden, boop. Flossing and then boop. Groove. Right. Groovin, what program? Is that Mrs. Payne over there? Nice. That'd be emo too. You'll find out. Okay. The Invisible Man isn't the Kevin Bacon movie. There's Hollow Man with Kevin Bacon. It's a fun, goofy sci-fi horror movie. Cool effects. Close enough. It's basically the Invisible Man, yeah. It's more of an Invisible Man movie than the Lee Winnell Invisible Man movie that came out a few years ago, which I did like. I did like that movie. But it's so radically different. I'm like, damn, girl. Don't shoot.
No one's driving me out of my home.
You clearly got what I was getting at. Yeah.
From 304? I have another gun like this if you need it.
Yeah. Where?
I didn't want to shoot. He gave me no choice.
Give me the gun.
This is my home.
Oh, I have one already, but I'll take the ammo. Hey, miss. Just kidding. Let me rob you first. Ooh, shit, I'm taking medicine. What about The Invisible Man 1933? It's a good movie. That's the only one I've seen of those, like that continuity, though.
Something was barring the door from the other side.
I saw one called, like, Invisible Mom or some shit like that in the 90s.
What do you call a Roman soldier with hair in his
Son
teeth?
of the Invisible Man in the 90s or late 80s, something like that. And it's funny because that's a PG movie, but it's got titties in it. I remember watching that as a kid and I was like, you know, like the Shaq meme, and then I saw I guess Hollow Man. It's not the same thing, but it's basically an Invisible Man movie. And then, like I said, the Lee Winnell one. Ah! Gardevoir? Oh yeah, I've used the shit out of that in Pokemon. What do you call a Roman soldier with hair in his teeth? A gladiator. Oh. Wait, is that a floss brand? Gladiator? I don't get it. Ruben, I'm sorry, I'm dumb. No! Oops. Glad he ate her. Oh. You could have named it like I guess that works. That went over my head though. Fuck. A joke. No, I know it was a joke. I just suck at it. Let's go. Fuck. Oh, that was close, dude. 5. Got him. Joey. Sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Lords and ladies. Joey's head.
My lady,
yeah.
Wait.
My lord.
My lord.
My lady.
This is a surprise finding you here. Were you looking for me by chance?
My lord, I was... Oh, this is so difficult.
My lady?
My lord, I came to see you, but...
What's the grenade button? I'm glad it's like not a like not a whole ass weapon. Like I can have a gun and a grenade is what it looks like. Controls, combat, secondary attack, F or middle mouse button 3. Tell you what, let's make this grenades. And then... Oh, can I clear that? I double click. That works too, then fuck it. What? Oh, nice.
I'm here. I can see
On
that
F5, and let me test this.
My lady, no.
Yep. Yep, way better. Okay. And then let me switch it. So that option.
You know why you shouldn't shout into a colander? Because it'll strain your voice.
I like that one. I like that one. Right, controls, movement, and then bullet time only. No, not double click, dummy. There we go. Shoot dodge only. Bullet time combo.
My lady, no. Surely.
My lord, I should go.
Alright, that works too. Okay, cool.
My lady.
Thank you for the redeem, even though it kind of startled me.
Forgive me.
My lady.
Man. Dude's apartment is shit.
After the break, an all-new episode of Lords and Ladies.
I wonder if I should price my next new redeem. Who knows? If I knew what it was, I'd give you a suggestion. Do what feels good in your heart.
Kaufman wants us taken care of. Let's just find a guy so we can off him and go home. Know what this
Nice.
is? The finale. The climax before the credits roll.
Already did your stepmom, what else? You tell me. You're speaking in mysteries, brother. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Just busting into apartments.
Such a nice young man. Coming to see an old lady like me.
Just passing through, ma'am.
So this lady kept trying to fuck me.
Boy. Not like the ones upstairs. They say they're renovating, but it's too quiet. They're up to no good. The
Motherfucker
doctor
trying to grab
gave
my
me
hang
pills
dang.
for my hip, but it's all better now. You should take them. You look a bit pinched.
I'll take it. Give me.
They're in the bathroom.
This is the bathroom,
With
isn't it?
all these cleaners, you'd think that the place would be neater. I've heard them talking in the corridor.
This is the bathroom? Bitch, move.
Tom's. Oh, I remember sunlit days in the countryside with my bear. Or was
Summertime.
that something I saw on TV?
You said there's pills in the bathroom. Let me fucking go to the bathroom. Give me your pills. I don't need it. I don't need them. Fuck you. Can I make that? Oh shit.
I'd found the sniper's hideout. The room was full of surveillance equipment. They'd been spying on me for days, weeks, months even. My every action observed, recorded, analyzed. The place was the proof every paranoiac dreams of.
Sweet. Why would you leave a TV like that? Look, they got like a little cable box. Remember those? And a little stereo system. Tapping the phones. They have the exact same pizza as me. And then, oh, cool. Is it E again? Yep. Watching me. There's Payne, like in his fucking little bedroom. Jerking it. They never knew.
The building trembled as in a seizure. The sound of an explosion came from the direction of my apartment.
And they blew up my fucking apartment. No! My teeny babies! It's gonna be worth a fortune!
Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my...
Idiot. Back my bitch up. Bam. Oh, bam, bam. Bam. Oh, bam, bam. Okay, lady? Safe around me, babe. Let me, I guess we're fine. Alright, yeah, just go upstairs, Joey. Are you really going to the roof? F2. One? Oh, no, that's fine. I think F2 in the last game just told me flat out like the objective, but I didn't know that until I was like,
I wasn't gonna get through without the
yeah, we're done with the game. You know how I do.
Suites. They weren't an improvement on the regular apartments.
They're crazy. Now, die! Thanks, fella. You saved me.
Okay, dude?
They barred the door from the outside.
Oh man, drugs are bad.
Times. The tyranny of cleaners.
Right. Any other way out?
He looks like Eli a little bit.
With the pigeon. You need the codes.
Pigeons? What is it with old, like, homeless-looking black dudes in video games and pigeons? That was like Pigeon Man, you know? Chat. Sep. What up? What's up, Sep? Going to bed? Alright, good night. I'm gonna name him Al. Good night, Al. Love you. What up, Sep? How you doing? You should have a secondary handle and call it Pep in your Sep. Stupid. Ooh. I was showering. That's what I want to do. I need like a flat out, like just a bath. You know, I just want to like lay down and just
NYPD.
just contemplate.
I need the code to the 7th floor door.
Sure. I know it. Wait. Oh yeah. 667. Neighbor of the beast. Get it?
Yeah, I get it.
Okay.
You stay here.
Dude, tell me to do that in my bathtub.
In our headlights.
How tall are you? I don't buy it.
It's not the same thing.
Fiber! back, brother. Ow, no, they killed him. Ah! Send me a pic of you in the path for proof. F5. JJJ. Or we could do the sitcom thing and go J, and then the audience will laugh. Wait, where am I going? He says something about 667. I ain't going in the elevator, am I? Maybe, probably. I'm in the basement. And yeah, he was like, oh, the neighbor of the beast. Let me just make sure this is a dead end. Yeah, he's cleaning. And then yeah, I gotta go back up the elevator to the 6th floor, I think. Right? 667. That's what I would do. I should actually start listening to these guys instead of reading chat. What's up? I'm not in my shower anymore. Audie! What are you doing, Shoddy? What are you up to? Dual Desert Eagles? Dang. Wrecked. I really like that emote. Where'd you get that? Where'd you get it? Wait, the 7? Okay, let's go down to 6. I was not paying attention. Where do I go? On the controls. Read story. Oops. Oh, this is it. Haha. Boy, I think you might actually be retarded. Boy. That felt really fucking good. 2 Desert Eagles. Max's wrist joints must be like deteriorating. Playing Repo. Sick. Hope you're having fun. Address unknown.
All the episodes in a row. A real descent to madness.
Whoa. Gotta watch this. I don't want to miss this episode.
In the streets of Noir, York. This
Noir,
city
York.
Swallowed Mira and my girlfriend. I was part of some elaborate game, complex for its own sake.
Are you winning, son?
Every time I looked over my shoulder, I saw a shadow disappearing behind the corner, with a glint of binoculars in a window. They were spying on me.
Actually, for this game, does this look better to you guys? I'm curious.
When Mira killed again, the map of the city changed.
Probably not. Probably not.
Like a shifting glacier, a new crack appeared with every gunshot.
I mean, the whole aesthetic is like, it's kind of like a movie, right? Like a little noir movie.
I was following
Hong Kong action.
He kept leaving me, and he was watching me do it.
Sorry, I'm going this way. No, they killed the old lady. I just realized. How did I miss that? Oh, yeah, watch the whole fucking episode next to a corpse. She ain't gonna be Max Payne 3. Lurking. All right, we'll have fun. Thank you for the lurk. Mwah. Whoa, 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 whoa! I can't see. Bastard. And one to grow on. I'm in a good spot, I think. F5. Nothing nothing like platforming in a game like this. Whee! Whoa, 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 whoa. Goddamn, bro. Scared the shit out of me. I shop it? I don't know what that is, but I want it. That Tofu! How you doing? You know what I want to do? I want to do some shout outs. I haven't done shout outs today, but I want to catch this Pokemon. Poke catch. Ultra Ball. Miss you too. Don't you fucking go anywhere. I'm gonna give you a shout out. You can't miss it, okay? I love you. Love you too. 1 second. Tofu. Do I even have a hold on. Oh wait, no, this scene's fucked up. I'm gonna go to this one. Oops. Oh no, I'm all mixed up now. Whoa! You gotta see in October, dude. For real, for real. I'll be there. Do some shout outs. There they are. I was like, is it not working? Oh, sick transition. Thank you. Oh my god, you're so creative and amazing. Thank you. No, you. Oh my god, bars. Literal bars. Glorious. Who else we got up in this bitch? Got B90. B90 streams, right? Got like yeah, B90 streams. Audie, my angel. Thanks. Oh my god, I like that emote. Where? I fucking need that emote. Working Ash? That's fucking awesome. It's got the Groovin' Gamer. Last seen playing Metro. I was watching that today. I need that fucking emote. That's fantastic. Alt tab. Let's see. Inked 9. A shout. No problem, dude. Thanks for being my one. Shout out the Groovin' Gamer. Who else is here? Earth Brooks, Jay. Thanks for the shouty. Problem, dude. Thanks for being here. Thanks for hanging out. I want 30 spankies for my birthday Monday. I can give you them. It's no problem. It'd be an honor. I'd love to. Got Girth Brooks. We got Jay. Excuse me. What team is that? Okay. Oh, Gears of War. Oh, I remember this part. Jay, when you streaming Gears of War 3? The best one. God damn it, Jay. Play Kingdom Hearts. I was enjoying that. Good question, Soonish. Fair. Whatever. But yeah, dude, you're pretty stuck on that part. Sometimes these games are just not fair. Like after I finished Max Payne 1 on my 12-hour stream, I was actually kind of like, I was pretty into it. And I was watching some YouTube videos like Civvy 11 and your favorite son play the game, those guys, and it made me feel better. The game is cheap. I was like, okay, thank God it's not just me. But I got through it. Did you know that Max Payne has difficulty scaling? I love Civvy 10 out of 10. Yeah, Civvy's awesome. Watch his Max Payne video if you haven't already. It's pretty great. But did you know that Max Payne has scaling difficulty? I didn't know that. Apparently it does, and there's mods to turn it off because it's broken, but I don't know. I did not. Yeah, I didn't know either. The better you do, the harder it gets. It's not just like ramping difficulty. Apparently it has like some sort of something happening behind the scenes, but it doesn't work right. And I think he was joking around. He says everything after 3 is just not fair. After chapter 3 is not fair. But yeah, that was news to me. I was like, that explains a lot. How grenades go off after like a second landing next to you. I was like, you can't get away from that. I'm just too good. I think the problem is it doesn't scale back down or something like that, but there is an issue with it. Yeah, I just wanted to give you guys shout outs. Oh, you know what? I did the Joey thing and give myself a shout out. Let's see, is it my millionth Popeyes clip? Oh yeah, back when I used to do art streams. I'll get back to it soon. I would like to do another art stream.
Like it could be like the smallest thing.
This one pops up a lot.
All of you, just go up there and compliment. I do it all the time. I like your shirt. Cool hair, dude. You know.
Throwing out for the art streams.
Because then hopefully that makes their day a little bit better.
I threw my beer can trying to be funny. Here, I'm pouring one out.
Someone out there remembers to be nice to them on a bad day.
No, I'll bring him back. Can I get that guy's number? Yeah, I think I can get that for you. We're pretty close. I don't think he'd mind. He'd be happy. He'd be ecstatic. Pew. Pew. Back to our regular scheduled programming. Down here. Nope, there's stuff right there. What is that? What is it? Ammo. Nice. 5. What are you up to, Audie? You still playing the repo? I think Nikki's been playing that too, I want to say. I saw somebody go live playing that. I don't know who. I forget. I follow a lot of people. No, I got off. I was trying to make a joke, but I'm not quick enough. Getting off without me?
The explosion in my apartment had started a fire. The flames couldn't burn away my past. They only made the shadows behind me leap higher. I had to get down to
Damn, that loaded like instantly. Then we got a chance to read the name of the chapter. Hold on. Go shoot some shit. Probably wants me to go that way, but you know, you never know. There's always going to be like some door, something, and you get in there, and then you're like, oh shit! I'm glad I went in here. There's bullets and stuff. Thank God. There's got him. Painkillers. Look at that there. Maybe that's not the best idea. Maybe I should switch it to like... Because I didn't try to do that. I tried to do this. Me too, like 4 times. There you go. There you go. Good job, Jay. It's secret cap. He's always getting off. I'm too sad to not. No, wait. Why are you sad? Don't be sad. Too sad to nut.
Mona had come through here. The dead cleaner's a sign of her passage.
Open the door! Somebody!
It sounds like Uncle Ruckus. Oh, you're alive! Thought they killed you, man.
I owe you one.
This is where the fun starts.
Yeah, no sweat.
Have someone else do it for you.
Used to be on a job.
I volunteer as tribute.
I was a cop like you.
All right, follow my lead.
Yeah, I was a cop. Cost me my marriage. Long hours. He was terrified something would happen.
Yeah, I thought you were dead, man. You were. There was blood. There was a dead you right where I left you. Unless you're just so boozed up, you just walked it off.
Started hitting the bottle. Anyone would have.
Wait.
My boss busted me for drinking.
What am I doing?
Set the rat squad.
Do I have to go to like a different floor?
Well, that was the end of that.
Yeah, I think I have to go to a different floor, maybe.
Gas from the broken pipe was feeding the flames. I couldn't get through.
Yeah, we'll go down a floor. I think maybe that's what I have to do. Hold on, let me get this eyelash out of my eye. Don't look at me. Don't look at me. Got it. Alright. Now you can look at me. Yeah, that's my guess. I'm gonna... Gee, it's not even going through there. It's going in here. Alright, Al. Got any bright ideas? You go down a level. Come on, Joey. Think, Joey, think. Okay. We're going down then. I don't fucking know. Clearly not there.
Goddamn slime bags, open up! There are people trapped in here!
Wait, I hear voices. Where you at, lady? Hey, baby.
Bitches have locked the door! You coming to my rescue?
Something like
that. Yeah.
We need to get out.
You could probably get out through a window on the 3rd floor, if you can kill the flames.
Yeah, working on it.
A girl, more of them!
Where? You guys good? Okay, yeah. They took cover. Good job. Tactical. OG ass to Kansas. Be the envy of the gods above. Looking devious. Looking glamorous. Yeah, mischievous. Polyamorous. Wine and women and wonderful vices. Welcome to the cult of Dionysus. Welcome back, Cyber. I love you. Mwah.
With the gas turned off, the fire on the 3rd floor was no longer a problem.
Run, run, run away. Take my hand and we'll abandon this world. Wash those tears away. You're young and beautiful, and I love you always. Oh, wrong button. Cool. No, 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 no. All right, you know what? Let's change that back. Secondary attack. No. Let's make you this button. Wait, no. Let's make you this button. I think F works. Are you winning, son? I am winning. Welcome back, Angel. I just had to change the controls because I keep fucking throwing grenades and Molotovs when I'm trying to go to bullet time, and that's gonna be a problem. Bullet time only. There we go. That works. Hey, Angel, what it do? What are you playing? Are you in your city? Your city? Sawsbuck? Fuck. Missed it. Let's go back upstairs. Nope. In the arch. Are you working? What are you up to? Man, what's going on in the world of Angel right now? Made TikTokies? Oh, nice. Have I asked Angel for nudes before? I don't think you have. You can try and see how that goes. Good luck. Jay. I feel like these idiots are gonna walk into fire. Hey, I have a question for you. Hello, Cyber. Hey, what's up, Angel? They want me to just jump for it? Oh yeah, there's a dumpster right here. Nope. Please tell me I quick saved. Okay. There's no. Oh, it's right here. God damn it, Joey. All right, cool.
Hey.
Whoa. Dang. Alright, let's go back to the Desert Eagles. Ladies, if I shake my dreads, are you gonna leave me alone type shit? Ladies, if I shake my dreads, are you gonna leave me alone type shit? If this is a specific quote, I don't know it. I get the type shit. Would you say that's the dude version of what again? Type shift. Oh, type shift. Send pics. Wait. I'm gonna shower, I'll be right back. I'll take those pics. Cool with you. Shift. I still don't get it. What's with the dreads thing? Oh shit. I'll send you the reference. Okay, yeah, do that. Ah, Max, no! Only Joey gets them. Yes! Alright, let's get my engrams. Don't line every time someone tries to compliment me. Really? Because last time I tried complimenting you, you were don't compliment me. When you were talking about your hair on stream, and everybody was like, Joey's my middle name? That's funny. Your middle name's Mid. No. You remember. You said, if you compliment me, I'm gonna crash out. And I was like, your hair looks nice today. If you send me nudes, I promise to not compliment you at all.
It's like a friggin' kindergarten out there.
Mood.
What next? A kid with a bag full of guns and a head full of video games turns the house into a shooting gallery. Breaks my heart.
Not me e-begging.
What the hell's going on?
Crashes out.
With me, you meant.
No, don't crash
I
out.
have my doubts about the cleaners
uncrash
spying on
in.
me. About
No, what's the
Mona.
opposite?
According to Vladimir Lem, the mob captain Vincent Gognitti is behind the hits. Seems he's made a deal with an unknown third party. Maybe the cleaners. I don't know. Something doesn't fit. If it's true, I've been added on Gognitti's list. I came close to lying to Bravura. I told myself I needed to find out
send me the reference,
facts
'cause I
first
wanna
before
know
others
it.
could screw up the evidence. But that was an excuse. Mona had gotten under my skin. I couldn't close my eyes to any of it anymore. It was more important than the job. She had tried to reach me, left her number. Risky leaving your number at the police station.
Don't crash out.
Trace the call and you'll
Don't do it.
to you from Hong Kong.
Get back here. Yeah, LMAO.
My address. Make sure you're not followed.
Max, what's
You know,
going
you miss
on?
100% of the shots you don't take, right?
Don't do anything stupid.
Mona's place was a closed-down funhouse based on a 90s TV show. The show's cancellation had been the kiss of death to it.
I'll do the Max Payne. No! Are we not supposed to compliment Angel? I don't know anymore. Never, Girth. You did a Steve Carell. I'm gonna compliment you even harder now.
I felt like I was walking into a trap.
Oh, I remember loving this level.
Like I was about to get caught.
Two inches, take it or leave it. If you do, I start to glitch. I was gonna say, your smell is really a lot better tonight, but I guess I won't. Mirrors are more fun than television. Damn, cut the bitch's head off.
John, you must run. He's coming after you. He wants
All right.
to catch you. Closing in. John, I love you. Don't give up.
Actually, I think this scene works really well for this game.
Stop him! There he goes! Stop him! You can't escape!
It's very clever. I'm kind of into it.
You have nowhere to run!
There had been no lock on the front door. I had wondered why the place wasn't packed with hobos and stray dogs. Little wonder.
This is dope. Get him! Get him! Hey, are you playing anything tonight, Angel? You just chillaxing? Oh nice, I got the weird crackhead scream from the first game. Yes, fallen angels. Red rum murder, nice. I'm being summoned to VR chat, but I'm smoking and watching you for now.
Your past has a way of sneaking up on you.
Well, if you get trapped in the digital world again,
everywhere.
hope you have fun.
Like a bad replay. You get mad at everybody for reminding you about it, even if it's all in your head. When entertainment turns to a surreal reflection of your life, you're a lucky man if you can laugh at the joke. Luck and I weren't on speaking terms. Or maybe the place was just too lame to be funny.
Not leaving yet. Yeah, stay here. Trying to get rid of me? No, the opposite. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. We like this game. Like hanging out with all yous. Oh shit! Oh, okay. I thought that was actually gonna hurt me.
Choice given.
Real for real.
Makes you think about.
All right, then let me enjoy it. Max Payne cozies in. Hell yeah, brother.
Yes.
I only come to Joe streams to meet women.
Mira. Welcome to the next level.
Oh shit. That fucks with my eyes a little bit. No women to come to my streams. Here's a pro tip. If they show up, stop asking for nudes.
I was behind the backdrops, getting warm.
Never. Great place to do so. He attracts the baby girls. Bitch, I'm one of your mods. This is true. This is true. You have one of the best mods. That she hits you with the actually.
When I'd first met
I'm the
my
best
twin sister,
non-mod.
they must have felt like
Groovin'.
madness, schizophrenia, and
You don't deserve it anymore.
Suddenly falling silent.
That ship sailed. We tried. We tried.
Mona's door was locked. I could have knocked, but I felt
You
the
broke our
urge to
hearts.
snoop around more. Keep
I feel like you would be a great mod, but it's fine.
I had a choice.
Fine. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Nothing. I'm fine. Fuck do I go? What? Oh, wait, no. Oh shit, I was lucky.
Lords and ladies, brought to you in part by Gold Touch Brandy.
I'm only hard on you because you have potential, okay, Groovin? Whoa.
Going somewhere.
Oh, that's this door.
My lord, Jack, what on earth?
My lord.
Are you lurking here in darkness? Are you spying
Is this
on
what
me?
Bridgerton's like? I never saw it.
Conduct fit for a lord?
Not so. If the
Imagine this is
other one
basically
no lord
Bridgerton.
To begin with. It is not I whose actions are in question here, Valentine. Where do you think you are going at this ungodly hour?
Who put you up to this shameful errand? Mama?
Leave
Who
our
do
parents
you
out of this.
think you are?
Papa.
What they all sound like to me.
Sheriff of York was well on his way to recovery from the consumption when the news of you carrying on
Yeah.
with that wench, a pirate's
Yeah.
daughter, no
Bitch.
less, brought about his relapse.
Relax. Shut the fuck up.
You and I will be the head of the family. Continue seeing her at your own peril.
Are you threatening me, my lord?
I will cut you off, Valentine. That and worse.
I bid you good night, brother.
Yeah, all I know is that Bridgerton, they dress like this. And it's got some cute Indian bitches in there. That's all I know. Who the fuck? Hold on. They have a Dick Justice poster. Be kind of cool. Whoa.
Hi, you've
Oh.
called Dangerous Liaisons.
Wild Drampa. Cute Indian bitches is wild. Hold on.
Just talk.
I'll allow it. Hold on. I have to. Okay, thank you. Whoever did that. Thank you, Cyber.
Dangerous Liaisons.
Cute Indian bitches is wild. I mean,
From you.
I'm not wrong.
The weapons and explosives in her workroom left no questions about her vocation.
They're Indian and they're cute little bitches. Man, you know what it reminds me of? Remember in How High? When they're like, did you just call us hoes? And they're like, we meant that in a good way. And they're like, all right. I feel like that's basically what happened just now.
For serious pain.
Oh. Oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit.
I'll tell you one thing, Mona, you're no singer.
Oh wait, there's actual titties in here? There's no titty in the PS2 version.
We need to talk.
Bring me a towel, will you?
Dying, no need to explain. Oh, okay. Where's the mod where I can play with that mod?
Now that you're here,
model?
you can watch my back while I get dressed.
All she had told me was that someone wanted us dead. The way she was acting, I was the only one in danger here.
And he goes, I could come on it too.
You'll have to give me a lot more than that.
The inner circle.
What of it?
The secret society is after everyone who knows of their existence.
Come off it. Prove it.
Milady?
I have a contact inside. He's willing to talk.
Alfred Walden.
I know where all my bitches are.
Anyways, I can take
bitch, where you at?
She wasn't telling me the whole truth. Let's go.
The circle goes back to the centuries-old Masonic cults. Corruption and
Get my baby powder.
assassinations reaching all the way to the presidential level.
Right. And here I was thinking conspiracy theories had gone out of style.
We're here.
Yeah.
So are they.
Ad break.
I'm the only one handling a piece here. Which floor?
Not the baby powder. Good
They're
lord.
after him. The elevators work with the apartment keys and from the desk here. They've jammed most of them to the floors they're on. The guard set off the alarm before they were killed.
We need to do this fast.
Shouldn't we just wait for the cops? Here, so we can stay in touch. You operate the elevator from here and I'll go up.
I'll go up.
You're the man.
I'm the daddy. You the mama.
I have the floor plans in front of me. I can guide you through.
How come you're
Nice.
alive, anyway? I saw you take a bullet to the head.
Maybe it's still there. Keeps me focused.
For this to work, I was gonna
They
have
said,
to trust
we're
you.
not going to explain it.
Let's get to work.
You changing diapers?
Cleaners ahead and to the
No,
left, guarding
I'm
Corcoran's
bringing
door
home
at
the
opposite
money.
end of the hall.
Okay. Oh shit.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Sick.
Oh, yes. Oh.
Did I download the wrong mod? What's happening here? TOS safe? I think so. I mean, she could be exercising. You know what I mean?
I call the police.
The police are
She could be doing Pilates. That's what we're listening to right now.
Just it. Well, you don't.
They're cleaning other
She's definitely in pain.
Corcoran said that other inner
She's being stabbed.
live in the building.
Let me go put pressure on the wound.
Found a body, a thin guy in a suit.
Not Corcoran. He's a big man. Fat.
Close the wound. Yeah, I'm
Gotta look around.
Let's say something stupid like suck the venom out. I don't fucking know. Hey, look, computer.
I'm going upstairs.
Oh shit! God damn it! Oh shit! Hell yeah! God damn it! This game is good. And we keep driving through the night to late goodbye. Slow-mo's my favorite part. Yeah, dude, slow-mo.
We're late.
They did it. Got it, you know?
To get out of there.
Honestly, I almost streamed, because I really did want to, you know,
I wasn't ready to go.
do more fun shit
Not
like
without a
the
single
comic and
piece
stuff
of
for Max Payne
evidence.
2, but I got
The
to
photo
that right
of a
now.
group of men
But I
posing
did
in front
almost
of a
play
madhouse.
Stranglehold,
Corcoran
which
was
I
there.
believe is the
Said
best
that
Max
Tate was
Payne,
there.
like,
So was
ripoff
Alfred
we
Walden.
ever got.
So it was true. All bets were off. The inner circle was involved.
Did I open that? Stranglehold? Have you heard of it? It is, okay, so, you know John Woo, right? The director? Wait. People are there. Awu collaborated with a one Chow Yun-fat to make one of the best Hong Kong action movies ever fucking made, called Hard Boiled. Okay, it's good. Look it up. And actually, this is one of the inspirations for Max Payne in general. But there is a sequel in video game form called Stranglehold, and it's basically a Max Payne clone, and it is awesome. It is fucking awesome, and it is on my list of things that I would like to stream. Oh shit! Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Oh no, you bitch! Please, 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 please. Okay, that worked somehow. Which way fucker shot me? Oh, through that. Is it as awesome as the Thing video game? See, Griffin, you're just trying to hurt me. You know exactly what fucking button to push. Every down to watch you play it. I'll watch Hard Boiled, LOL. I might do a movie night one of these days for Hard Boiled. I think some people would appreciate that. It's good. The only question is sub or dub. I'm just kidding. That's one where I think. Dude, that fucking piece of shit. Hey, did you see me take cover behind the couch and it worked? I didn't expect that to happen. What up, Bo? Welcome back. How you doing? How's your night going? Have you played Max Payne before? I'll open every fucking cabinet I can. Rob the— oh shit, that scared me. Rob these people. What's good, Bo? Oh dude, that's a nice TV. And like 2000, wait, this is like in the wall. There's no fucking way they had like TVs this thin back then. Yeah, that's in the wall. It's in the goddamn walls! Whoa! Oh, my boy! Thank you so much for the sub. What's that? What that gets you? That gets you... shout out. You beat me to it, LOL. Oh, the was I was gonna give Bo a shout out. Bo, hope you're having a great night. Everybody, follow Bo. You won't regret it, I promise. Oh shit.
Get in here! Get in here now!
Oh, it's in the goddamn wall. That's nice.
You should be able to make the jump to the balcony below.
Angel gets all the references. It's awesome.
Oh my god, that was nice. What the fuck? Dude.
Everything okay up there?
No. Wait, up there.
Something's going wrong. I just know it.
I told you already. We're much better off than they were. They were on a stakeout when it happened.
How they didn't kill me? I don't know. Kind of almost like a compliment. Oh shit! Oh shit! Fucker! Not the grenade! Fucking... I don't know when the last time I quick saved. Did I quick save habitually sooner?
Maybe it's still there.
No!
For this to work, I was gonna have to trust her.
Let's get to work.
So long ago. Fuck this game for not having checkpoints.
Cleaners ahead and to the left, guarding Corcoran's door at the opposite end of the hall.
Shoot to kill!
She did tell me where. But I'm gonna crash out, as they say now. Damn it. I don't want to replay. Where do I go? Pick every door. I don't care anymore. I don't care.
Well, that's just it.
That's just prime.
Cleaning other apartments as well.
Corcoran said that other Inner Circle members live in the building.
Found a body, a thin guy in a suit.
Not Corcoran. He's a big man, fat.
I'm glad I switched over to TikTok and didn't hear it. Oh. Damn it. I need to quick save more.
I'm in. Gotta look around.
So annoying. I guess in a game where it's like, you know, I can have all the quick saves in the world, like, it's not the end of the world that doesn't have pre-made checkpoints, but fuck you, it should.
I'm going upstairs.
Pain, 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 killer, pain, 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 killer, pain, killer, killer.
We're late. He's dead.
Dead, Dave. Where they at? They show up in here, I think, right? Remember that grenade? F5. Dead, Dave. Oh, you get that reference too? Shit. What you know about Red Dwarf? Oh no, I'm crying. Don't cry. Are you dying too? I like that one. I know nothing, it's just what it said. Oh. Dead, Dave. You might like it. British comedy. For a second, it sounded, that's just the way it is. The Red Dwarf. Red Dwarf is a British sitcom. It's like a sci-fi. There's a dude, his name's David Lister, and he ends up getting like, I think it was like cryo-frozen or something like that. I forget the exact inciting incident, but he wakes up, everybody on the crew, like the ship is dead, except for the AI, the ship's AI, hard light hologram of his old roommate, and a cat that's descended from his cat that he stowed away, and it's like a humanoid cat. He's called the Cat. He's played by the Black Vampire from Blade 2. Not Blade, but the other one. Good show, good show.
You should be able to make the jump to the balcony below.
You should be able to make the jump to the balcony below. Fuck you. Already went through this. Wild Alamala.
Everything okay up there?
No. F5.
Something's going wrong. I just know it. I told you. Payne!
So I got Hard Boiled and Red Dwarf now. Red Dwarf's worth watching. I'm not sure if you would like it, but it's definitely worth attempting.
Take care of it.
I lulled. They gave me many lulls in art school. Ah! Fuck. That was actually kind of funny. And also my fault. Oh, can I save? Okay, good, good. Because I just quick saved as I died. Hard Boiled is a fucking classic, though. I like to think you'd like that one.
Cover me!
That went horribly. Okay, well, let me be the judge of it. Okay, yeah. What you should absolutely watch also is one called The IT Crowd. Fuck. It's a show. But it's super bite-sized. God damn it. They're gonna kill me.
Mona, what next?
Oh, I lucked out right there. It might still be on Netflix. Okay. Really good. Did you watch the game? Oh, did you catch that ludicrous display last night? I need that app. I need that app a lot. Look at this TV though. Did they really make TVs like that? A built-in stand. After Invincible ends tomorrow, I'll have nothing to watch. I gotta catch up. I'm still on season 1. Dude! Oh, I have an idea. Never mind. Shut up.
Okay. Nice timing.
What was he on? Hey, Wall Street yuppies. What wasn't he?
That's a geek for tomorrow. No spoilers. Good shit.
No downs.
Glad you're geeked.
Lucky we had something to calm him down. Just what the doctor ordered.
Hey, what's this one? Oh shit. Yeah, if you watched Hard Boiled or at least any action scene in that movie, you'll be like, yeah, this is... I can see where Max Payne came from. Yeah. Ice Skeleton Angel, LOL. What? I don't know. Whoa! I'm a vampire. Whoa, God, fucking stop it. I keep thinking I'm getting shot at.
Starting to sound like a broken record here. More cleaners to the right, in the lobby, behind
I don't get it, Cyber. I don't get it either. That's why I know I'm gonna love it.
Address unknown continues. Wherever I went, the payphones started to ring. Finally, I collected enough courage to answer.
Oh no, Rexplosion. No spoilers.
He's coming after you. He wants to catch you. They're closing in.
I can infer stuff, okay?
Don't give up.
I wasn't gonna give up on her. I could hear her voice in my head wherever I went, guiding me. I traced my double to a classy uptown nightclub, Pink Flamingo. It was happy hour. They were serving flamingo cocktails.
I'll chill.
Somehow the flamingo was tied to my double. A stripper in the bar looked just like my girlfriend. Mira's men had found me. I ran.
Stop him! There he goes! Stop him! You can't escape! We're coming to take you away! You have nowhere to run!
Mira was an influential figure in Noir York. His men chased me.
Oh shit. That's why I still have to do this. I got fucking jury summons
Chased me in black vans
at the end of the month.
with the flamingo on them. I ran.
I can't flash just because my address is on it and shit, but I bet it's gonna be good. Hell yeah. Looking forward to it. I don't want to go to jury duty.
Pleased to meet you, dearest of all my friends. Allow me to introduce myself. I am Vladimir Lane. I invite you to the grand opening of my restaurant.
Tomorrow? No, at the end of the month. I've just been lagging because I... Oh shit. Ooh, this gun is awesome because I don't want to do it, but you know, I don't feel like getting like a citation or held in contempt or something, so I gotta
The cleaner was
do the questionnaire, and they might not select me, but with my luck, they're gonna. I get my $40 for the day or whatever the fuck they give me. Hopefully free food. I'll just sit there and be like, he did it. He did it. He's guilty. Guilty. Maybe if I act a fool, they'll like be like, I don't want him.
Why would I risk my life on a window cleaner's lift when I can use the elevator? Don't know. For pay.
Yeah, I was gonna say, oh shit, they might not choose you. Have you ever done? Has anybody here ever done jury duty? But don't get me wrong, I love justice, but I'm also lazy and I have a job to do. I don't want to be there. Bye. Oh, this is awesome.
Mona,
Oh, I missed it. He almost landed on the paint
window
bucket.
cleaner's lift. I'm headed down.
Max?
Yeah.
Maybe if I wait to the exact last moment, do the questionnaire, I won't get selected. They'll be like, hey, we filled the spot. You're good, man.
Mona!
Never done it because they didn't select me. They're gonna select me. I know it. Out the window? Okay, oh, yeah. That makes sense. Joey, when they interview for the jury, just say, where's Whitey at? And lock him up. Yeah. I'll be like, hey. They'll be like, I don't trust honkies. And I support DEI. And what else can I say to piss him off? Here, tell you what, I'll go and then I'll put a little mic in my ear, right? And then you guys can tell me what to say, all right? Wait, where do I go? Can I make that? Yeah. Also, are they throwing grenades? What the fuck is that? Stop shooting. Don't shoot. Fucking fuck. I usually get exemptions. You'll get dismissed. Girth, I'm fucking screaming. F5. Everybody screams for my Girth. Oh my god, dude. Nice. Nice.
Off of the platform also heard concerns about bias at Facebook, particularly bias against conservatives. And I just was as a final question.
Thank you. Bird?
I came here.
There you go.
Milk.
This is from the IT crowd.
Kick-ass. And I've just finished my milk.
It's British me.
Off of your platform.
What, again?
Also
oh, God damn it, you guys.
concerns about bias at Facebook, particularly bias against conservatives. And I just was as a
Thanks.
final question.
I love that one. Oh, you motherfucker. I could do better.
Got to Mona. Nothing had worked out as planned. I had to find another way down to the lobby.
Clear. These are nice apartments. The surround sound speakers are a little distracting though, but it's gonna be awesome. It's funny, these big ass speakers and this tiny ass TV. Like what, like 30 inches? This far away?
早上好，中国！现在我有冰淇淋，我很喜欢冰淇淋，但是速度与激情就比冰淇淋速度与激情，速度与激情就我最喜欢，所以现在是因为时间。
You have to learn it phonetically so I don't sound racist, because I'll be actually saying what they say. The only surround sound I want is your stepmom's thighs. Damn, Groovin. You kiss your mother with that mouth? Where are they? Good one, Groovin. Hoffman.
Find him, take care of him.
That's pretty quick too. I was like, God damn, dude. You nasty, Groovin. Alright, I like how they introduced Kaufman just to die immediately. Oh shit! So fucking like extra. Dumbass. I even had to slow-mo you.
Why had she come to me in the first place? For help? For something she wasn't telling me?
Up on my neck.
NYPD, freeze! Easy! Don't move!
Payne, what are you doing? What are you doing?
The million-dollar question I didn't have the answer to.
Grooven, this is a family
What were you
stream.
thinking?
Yes, Grooven.
Were you thinking at
What
all?
were you thinking, Grooven? Were you thinking at all?
She is a fugitive murder suspect, for Christ's sakes.
I was trying to save
Not in
those
my
people
Christian
from the
suburbs.
cleaners. The two cases are connected, mine and Winterson's. Senator
Just
King
kidding.
was killed.
My car's
by
been
the
broken into
cleaners.
twice in this shitty complex.
Winterson can have them both.
On my
She does a
Christmas
bad
Minecraft
thing.
server.
I was doing my
I never really got into
I'm
Minecraft.
sorry to do this, Payne, but it's for your own good.
I can kind of see the
Hand me
appeal,
your
but
gun.
I just don't think it's for me.
I'm putting you to a desk job. Start by
Animal
writing a
Crossing,
report on what the hell
however.
happened on the Upper East Side.
So in Animal Crossing, I think I showed Angel, and I think I showed Audie, and I showed Solid, that I turned my basement into a porn set. And then my attic is now a laboratory where I pretend that I'm the one creating all the villagers.
When you're ready
Like kind of like the Island of Dr. Moreau situation.
Get your
Like, is that your stepmom's name? Back 5 Hail Marys right now, Grooven. Yeah, 5. You know what? Make it 7.
I was mad at myself, at Bravura.
You know what? Make it 8 because you don't want to be my mod.
Was she worth this?
Welcome back, Jody.
Go away. I'm busy.
Don't
Some of
envy
us
you.
have work to
The way
do.
the boss
I was
goes
trying to shoot
on
the door
about
down too. I was like,
it.
I'm
No use
getting in
going
there.
to clean up. Let him cool off a bit. You better just write that report.
I remember all this. This looks way better.
It was all connected. The murder of Senator Gate, the cleaners, the inner circle, Vinny Gognitti. I had to make Winterson see it.
Grooven, I know I gotta.
Winterson's phone was ringing. She
Grooven, I
wasn't at her
know
desk.
I do gotta. Oh, Grooven, I know I do gotta
Winterson's
be
phone.
your daddy and teach you a lesson and shit talking again. You give me lessons of shit talking, I can work on it. My shit talking needs work. Unless I get pissed off, then I'm just mean. I've had 2 roommates in the past tell me they don't like pissing me off because I just roast them. I think that's what it takes. I think it takes me being kind of upset. Until that point, like, I don't want to hurt people's feelings. But after that, I'm like, fuck it, fuck you, bitch.
I needed to talk to Mona. Behind bars, she wasn't going anywhere before I'd get some answers. The cells were downstairs.
How do you expect anyone to remember your name if you can't yourself, Prasad? It's basic positioning. It all starts with a name.
What are you talking
None
about?
of that matters. When I crack this case, Miller,
Scared
they'll
of you now.
remember.
Like you ever gonna crack.
Who, Cyber
It'll
or me?
be done when it's done. I'm gonna do it right. It's the spirit of the law, not the letter.
I'll be on your back about it
Be
till
scared
you
of
do.
me.
You already
You're
put a snake in
fine.
my bed. What more can you
Piss
do?
me off. No, it's also different. It takes a bit for me to get to that point. Like, I'm usually pretty, like, I could brush off a lot. But if I feel like you're actually trying to piss me off or offend me, or you do something that, like, you know I hate, then I can't help it. I can't help it. And then, like, exactly that part. That's the other thing too, because, like, I get it. I'm nice. So when I'm not nice to people, I guess it stings more. I don't know. He always seems nice at first, but you keep poking, he's actually super nice. It gets visibly annoying! Where the fuck do I go? They said to go downstairs. Maybe not this far downstairs. It's pretty good, though. That part. I also don't want to lose my shit on stream. He called me a bitch in the tot. Okay, catch. Ultra ball. I remember when you called me a bitch. Like, you let it slip and you're like, oh, sorry. Like, you backtracked it immediately and I was like, it's fine. Can I call you one? Oh, here's lockup. Stupid. Listen. That word has no effect on me. I really don't care. But I get to use it too.
Want to get to the lockup? Just press the buzzer by the door. Petersburg will buzz you in.
That's my thing, Audie. Toga Demaru. Let me in, bitch.
Payne here.
See, I did it just now.
Mona Sack.
Listen.
She's upstairs in a lineup.
Oh, upstairs in lineup. Wait. Oh. Alright. Stop making me go zigzaggy. You bitch, you stole my Pokemon. Bitch, you're too slow.
Doesn't look like I'm open for business. When the doors
I wanted to talk to Winterson's witness once she was done with him.
They can't see you through the glass. Just take your time. See if you can recognize any of them, okay?
Yeah, okay.
Number 2, step forward and speak the line you were given.
I can't read.
Just say the line number 1 said.
You think I was listening?
You are
How tall
nothing
are
but a
they?
one-armed bandit.
Stupid. You're nothing but a one-armed.
Alright, I'm gonna head out and jump in
Thank
VR
you.
chat.
Step
Alright,
back,
peace
number
out,
2.
Angel. Thanks for hanging out. Don't
Number
stay up too
3.
fucking late. Get your rest. Drink water.
Nothing but a one-armed
Have
Aren't I
fun.
supposed to identify any of the men in jumpsuits?
Jay likes it when you call him a bitch
None
and
of your
tell him
concern.
not to
Just
kill your vibe.
Concentrate on the task at hand. Do you recognize any
Please
of
don't
them?
kill my vibe.
Yeah, number 3's the one.
Thank you. Okay, we're done. Take them away.
Okay, ladies, you heard her. This way.
Night, Audie, and everyone else.
You can wait here. Someone will come to get you once the
By
paperwork is
name.
done.
Nice.
I tried to help you, Max, but you didn't listen. Now it's too late.
Wait. Did I give? I don't think I gave Angel a shout out. Oh shit. Wait, Angel, no, wait. Here, you can hear it. Oh, is this the? Oh no, the one I liked is "The Man Doth Approach." Wow, fake friend. Oh, I do think she wasn't here at that point. I just got distracted by shooting people and having to restart that part. What clip is this? Ah, that was. She's better content than that, trust me. Try to go pew pew. Yeah, I go pew pew.
Detective Payne, anything you'd like to add?
As I was trying to tell the other detective, the place was crawling with guys in gray overalls. They sure as hell weren't cleaning the place, but she wasn't too keen on listening to me. It's hard to say who was out to kill who, but the chick I just fingered and the men in jumpsuits, they got into a serious
Crazy.
firefight.
Okay, thanks.
No, thank you.
Repo is really stupid but fun if we ever play it. I need to look it up. I kind of already forgot what
They're
it was.
taking the fall.
I've never
Both
seen
of them.
gameplay.
Payne was with her when she was arrested.
Who are you talking to? You're leaking information.
Bravura's too soft on you. I was informing the proper authorities on what they should know. Stay away from my case, Max. Stay away for your own good.
Everything had started out as black and white. Somewhere down the road, the line went blurry. The colors started to run, got smudged and gray. Winterson had been above my suspicion. It felt like a goodbye.
Repo. Oh yeah. I thought that was a explanation. Am I going back to my desk? Horror co-op, you go into mansions and extract stuff to sell, but you can't make a lot of noise because monsters will eat you. Okay. Sounds fun. I was typing. Type faster. Badge. Oh shit, look at this.
10-4. Repeat.
Hey, baby.
I wouldn't be afraid to go home if you'd be there.
I figured you
can
only
give you
type
my
so
number
fast.
in case you ever get an urge to protect someone in the middle of the night.
Freddie, don't watch this. Don't listen.
For crying out loud. Is it too much to ask
Oh,
for some
shit.
privacy? I'll be out when it's done.
Hey, yo, this nigga taking the shit. With his pants on. Weirdo. Is he? Yeah, he is. What, this one? Oh, okay. How do I get the fuck out of here again?
I thought about walking
They'll go
away,
faster to kill her.
vanishing into the night. I couldn't do it.
Am I going to like my car? Down here? Where I go? I need to start actually paying attention to what these bitches have to say. I don't think I'm supposed to go down here. Maybe go to lockup? Oh, stupid. Go to lockup, Joey. Go. Joey. I'm dumb. I'm stupid. Wait, where was lockup though? Is it here, right? Yeah.
The lineup was done. Mona was back in her cell. Payne here. I need a statement from one of your customers. Mona Sachs.
The last pokey down the corridor to your left. Mona Sachs, huh?
Not again.
Jeez. No, I was watching the homie.
Max, you've got to get me out of here.
You know I can't do that.
If I stay here,
You
I'll
look way
die.
different than
Isn't
you
that a
do
bit
in the
melodramatic?
comic
Behind
cutscenes.
bars, I'm a sitting duck.
This
She kind of
is
looks
as safe
like,
as it gets.
what's her name? Julianne
Come on,
Moore a little bit
Max.
here.
Any one of these cops could be on the Inner Circle's payroll. You should know.
What's that supposed to mean?
You know Alfred Woden. You want answers? Call him. He'll verify everything I've told you.
Okay, I'll do that. I didn't want to have anything to do with Woden. I should have called him the moment the Inner Circle was mentioned.
As the lady said.
What? 100 biddies.
And puke ain't pretty.
Thank you, Shouty.
Never lies.
Thank you for the 100
I'd
biddies.
be okay if we
I
had
appreciate
Hannibal
that. You're
Lecter in
cute.
custody
You're
every
cute.
night, as long as he'd keep his stomach contact.
Can I use your
Thank
phone?
you.
There's one through the door behind you.
Wait, telephone? There's one behind the door behind you? This way? Is that what he said?
The door to the station's garage was locked except for when the perps were brought into custody.
This door.
How fucked up is that?
What are you up to, Shouty?
Pretty fucked up. You can say that again. I mean, there I am driving a stolen car.
I need to make a call.
You can use this phone.
Play some hoops later on?
Your funeral.
You've reached the voicemail of Senator Alfred Woden. Please leave a message.
Woden, Max Payne. We need to have a talk. You ask me, you still owe me.
Wait.
Jesus Christ!
A bomb? That was a bomb!
I started to play Hello Kitty for a bit in this stream. Okay, that sounds fun.
Upstairs, now!
Something was off. Mona's
Well, if
words
you
on
do,
her being
thank
a
you for the
sitting
lurk. I
duck
hope you
kept
enjoy your
playing
Hello
in
Kitty.
my head. The bomb had misdirection written all over it.
Drop it!
Feeling a little better. That's good. That's good.
Perks in the
You should be feeling a lot
lockup.
better,
Officer
hopefully.
down.
But progress.
Take him down. Find the bitch.
My
Find
shower
her.
too.
Kill her.
NYPD, drop your gun!
Mona had been right. I had to go after her. I needed a gun to get past the cleaners.
Hi.
Somebody! Officer down!
You can't die!
Oh shit! Coming on you, coming on you. Coming on you. Damn, dude.
I saw it. They're all dead.
Hold on. Hold on. Oh my fucking god. Wait, what did I say? I'm sorry. Oh, is it the progress thing? I did mean that in a good way. I kid. Coming on You was a classic. Oh, that. Yeah.
Staying here, trapped behind a
You know, it's
desk.
funny. It's so natural. I legit forgot I even said that.
Mona had vanished into the night. Without her, I had nothing to go on. I knew where to find her.
Vodka. Hey! It's Vlad.
Have no fear. Vlad is here. The world was getting too small for comfort. Too many coincidences.
Bang! You're dead, Max Payne.
A giant-headed Captain Baseball bat boy costume lay in the back seat. Gearing up for Halloween?
Max, dearest of all my friends. Call it my...
Bummer. Bye, Mona. No, she'll be fine. She'll be back.
Incogniti started. Speaking of which, any news?
Do me a favor. Drop me off at Coney Island. Does the inner circle ring any bells?
Nothing mystical about
Pocky!
Even if they themselves
Pocky, what'd I do?
would like to think so.
How
Just
are you doing?
one step up the ladder of organized crime. I see where you are going with this. Gognitti has made a deal.
Sam like a game. Hey, and Rin.
What about
Hey, what up, Rin?
I know of her.
I love that wig. That's
her
fun.
Reputation as a hired.
You actually make a good link. Holy shit.
Here, she is a stone fox. I would fuck her.
Right then, I hated Vlad.
Rin, yeah.
Max,
How you doing, Rin?
ask your advice as a
Not
friend.
much. Nothing much.
Ask.
Hypothetically, if the
Ooh,
only
finally a
choice
no
you've
accident
got
clip.
to do the wrong thing, then it's not really the wrong thing. It's more like fate. You have to do what you have to do.
So glad you guys are here.
Easy.
Of course. We agree
Rin,
to
Groovin,
disagree.
Pocky, Joey. Pat. Oh shit. Wait, I think I misspelled Rin. Right? Did you get the clip? Am I tripping?
Why was I there again?
You might get a double shout out.
Wait just a minute. Talk to me.
There we go.
What are you so afraid of? What do you want from me?
The Things That I Want by Max Payne. The smoke.
It's a clay. Okay, my clips are cursed. I got one.
For the sun to shine.
Thank you. We just casual cosplay, but we'll do a full one sometime in the near future. Nice, nice. I know Groovin is a huge Zelda fan.
Unlimited ammo and a license to kill.
Groovin streams a lot. Oh, actually, Groovin streams exclusively Zelda.
Everything I wanted her.
There you go. You guys get to watch this softcore porno I'm playing right now.
Up to my place. We can take them there.
Link appears. Wait, oh, I did give you a double shout out. Oops. Yeah, what's everybody up to tonight? Just kicking it? It's okay, my face is blocking it apparently. Yeah, it is. Oh no!
Max!
The trouble with wanting something is the fear of losing it.
Oh yeah, I figured out how to circumvent the verifying my phone number thing on Discord. So, art dump coming soon to a Discord near you. Bryn, what are you playing lately? Got him.
I couldn't get her out of my head.
Shit. Desert Eagle, hell yeah. Does that work? Is that breakable? I guess not. Fine, be that way. Be that way. I don't want ammo in there anyway. Fine. Don't worry about it.
Kill them. Hey, what the hell? Ah, it's gonna fall. Cover me.
Oh shit. Good job. I'm out here just downloading highlights so they don't delete all the memories in April. Such a long, tedious process. It is kind of tedious.
I hate this.
I wish I gave myself more time to do like the actual like making highlights. Like I'll download my VODs and stuff. When I first started streaming, I would take the time. Like the next day, I would just spend an hour just getting highlights and stuff and editing it together. But what I'll do now is I'll just make clips, or there he is. Or I'll in theory you can upload your own highlights. So I might download a VOD, edit it in like Premiere or something, and then I'll upload that. Oh yeah, the Twitch L, they're doing it. Yeah. Yeah, what is it again? Like you only have 100 hours of storage or 100 gigs of storage, something like that, right?
This is so cool. Best show ever.
Oh, he's doing the thing when they talk about the twist. I agree. All I'm here praying that we'll reconsider. Yeah, what are they doing again exactly?
He looks in the mirror and sees the killer there. See, he's in the John and he looks in the mirror.
Like, did they lower the time that you can have it up? Oh, dang, wait, I have highlights.
Hey,
are we not allowed to have highlights anymore?
Spoiled it. Thanks a lot.
Because I actually have some good ones that I would like to keep.
You haven't seen it.
Hold up.
You have to see it. I can lend you the DVD, and they still have this cool website. You have to see it.
Yeah, but watch it with the spoilers.
100 hours. I saw a ton of people saying highlight your streams and figured it wouldn't last. Let me find you the info. They're limiting it. Yeah. Got him. Don't shoot me. They're limiting it, detrimental for speedrunners. Oh, that's... oh, shit. That sucks. What? I don't think I quick saved. Did I? Please, please, please. Fuck! Damn it. We will be implementing a 100-hour storage limit across highlights and uploads starting April 19th. You are currently over the 100-hour limit, is the message I get, and cannot create new highlights or upload content until you delete old highlights or uploads to free up space. That is awful. I have over 600 hours. Dang. Fucking no.
This way.
You have a YouTube? I suppose maybe this. I mean, that sucks. Oh, that sucks. But you could maybe archive them there on YouTube.
The fear of losing it, or never getting it.
Yeah, YouTube VOD's about to pop off. Yeah, I've been slacking on mine, and damn it, I left my hard drive at my friend's house, so it's like I have like half my Resident Evil 5 over there. I'm just too lazy to drive, and then I have the rest of it on my actual like my computer. Damn, dude, leave me alone. Shotguns suck in this game.
I couldn't get her.
I think you're doing it. You want to cut down server costs? Yeah, that makes sense, but still, that's terrible.
Here goes, coward!
Fucking die! Like, I'm doing terrible. Okay. Yeah, I'm just forced to go into my YouTuber era now. I think the reason they're doing is they want to cut down server costs, greed, yeah. Not that Amazon needs to do that, but what they do to save $1, yeah, basically. Yeah, that's frustrating. So when you have your highlights, are they effectively like your VODs kind of cut up?
I hate this.
Where'd that come from? Yeah, basically. Oh. Love it. I'm very low on health.
Making a mess of it.
I'm a little BB.
This is so cool. Best show.
High five. Damn it. All right. They're forcing us to switch platforms with this. They want to shove short form content down our throats so badly. Yeah. Yeah. That's totally what it is too.
Here goes.
What are you doing? Everyone wants to be like TikTok. Have you seen how the mobile version looks now? Twitch? Oh yeah, dude, Twitch app sucks. I hate this damn app. What are there? Oh shit, I think I might have just fallen off the edge. Did I die? Okay, that was really close. Yeah, that app is not good. It was fine, and then they like retooled it and everything broke. I'll be actually watching on my phone, and then like I go take a break and I come back, and then without even a raid, it'll be on somebody else's stream. I'm like, what are you doing? What are you doing, app? Or it'll just let me not chat. Like I'll act like I'm texting or I'm typing in chat, and then it will never show up.
Funhouse was Mona's playground.
There!
Yeah, so you gotta do that.
Up there. Look out!
She had disappeared back into the shadows. An intervention from above. Over too soon.
Ah, what? Where? There he is. There he is. This game still holds up very well. I use the app to find new peeps. I just, yeah, to watch friends. Yeah, same. Like really, I'm almost exclusively on like this. The only time I'll go like my mobile app is so I can like go to the bathroom or something and keep texting or like, you know, I'm grabbing food or something. Shit. Where'd the grenade go? Got him.
Max, the garage backdrop. I'll let you through.
Thanks, babe. Alright, let me equip grenades. Yeah. And F, right? Yeah.
Max, cleaners ahead. I'll cover you.
Oh shit! Oh shit! Oh no. Start to wanna go on Twitch to find people to watch. I just watch people I already know. If I find new people, it's out on my own free will, and the app cannot change that. Yeah, the app does nothing. The app like actively pisses me off sometimes.
Max, cleaners ahead.
Wait, don't do that, don't do that. There's a grenade, there's a grenade. I'm a superhero! I'm like the Punisher. You playing anything new, Pocky? And Ren? What else is here? You guys playing any cool streams?
I was sick and tired of the cleaners speeding away in their vans. I had only one chance, no time to stop and think it through.
There's no way they didn't hear or feel that.
I had no choice. I couldn't have waited for Mona. It was Vlad's excuse. Fate.
Damn it, I'm out.
I didn't trust myself.
Oh. My green
I'd forgotten
apple.
about the radio Mona had given me.
Lushy.
I'm here. Took a ride with the cleaners. I'll let you know when we.
I think it was delicious.
Max, about what happened.
Can't talk now.
Man, I should have done some vodka in there or something.
I had to crack the case.
Binary choice. I know this game's shorter. Let me look at the list of levels. I think this game can be beaten in like 7 or 8 hours, if I'm not mistaken. And then the last one's like 11.
Take it to the top floor.
Yeah, with the rest of the evidence. Hey, careful with those.
At the moment, oh yeah, I'm going to get caught up on my highlights before I jump back into anything new or continue games. Otherwise, I will get overwhelmed with content. I feel it.
Hey, what the fuck?
I don't have 100 hours. I don't think I even have.
I thought of Vlad's Trojan horse.
Anywhere near that.
I'd gotten into the cleaners.
Because I archive my stuff mostly on YouTube.
They'd give me directions to
but I do have a
evidence
few
on the
highlights
top
and clips
floor.
here that I like. But you probably have like a lot of. We said 400 hours. That's so much to download. I guess it's one of those things where you know just put a good CD on, put a movie on, and just go through the process. Who's been doing art or community games? Oh yeah, I've been seeing that. I've been wanting to play, but it's always like I'm at work or something like that, or I'm working on something. But I do thoroughly enjoy your art streams. His name's Girth Brooks. We call him Paul. He's a regular in chat who streams sometimes. He's been trying to get me to do art streams again.
The dangerous red boxes the cleaners had talked about were containers filled with explosives.
They're gonna kill me? Yeah. Oh shit. Nice. I just want to start multi-streaming with YouTube. That's something I want to look into too. It'll make the VOD archiving process like 1,000 times easier just because it automatically does it. I don't have to worry about downloading my VODs or nothing. Ah! It'll save a bunch of time. What do I do? What do I do? What do I do?
Max, I'm at the site. Where are you?
A condemned building at the edge of the site.
For 600 hours? Oh, I hate it. Dude, I feel for you. Yeah.
Later, I'm kinda in the
Is it
middle
like
of
your
something.
entire streaming career? Can I open that? Grabbing some peel. Hitmachan. Shit, I want one. Okay, catch. Catch. Ultra Bow. 6 years worth. Nice. I just hit my first year on Saturday. What up, Shouty? Happy first year, homie. Thanks. It was a lot of fun. I did a 12-hour Max Payne stream. Oh, the first one. This is the sequel to it. And I had a lot of fun. Honestly, that might be my favorite stream I've done so far. Grenade. Thank you. Look in the shadows by her Pokecats. It feels like a sleeper, right? You're like Bucky from Winter Soldier. You just hear Pokemon cues and you like activate. Yeah, I really enjoy streaming. Hey, where do I go? Oh, there's a door right here. Thank you for the alert.
Your nose.
Yeah, I can get it. I can get it. I can get it. Fuck, never mind. Aw, sorry.
Cover!
I just noticed? Oh shit! Bullet time in this game kind of makes me a bit of a superhero. Like, it's not in the first game, everything slowed down, right? Me, them, but in here, I think the more, I guess, adrenaline or whatever, like the yellower my little time gauge goes, the less I'm affected by it, and the world seems to be slowing down around me. That's what it feels like after like a while. I think that might be what's happening. I never noticed it. I never used the highlights. I did at first, but you know, no, it's fine. And Spooderman. Yeah, I did at first, just because I liked having, like, I think I was doing it when I was playing mostly the first few Resident Evils up to Code Veronica, and then I slowed down just because I got really busy. But what I want to do now is, because I download my VODs anyway, I would like to edit my own highlights and just upload those. Probably to YouTube. And I'll keep clips on Twitch. That might be my move. Wait, am I going the right way?
So get this. He tells me I'm new to the colors except green. What the hell is that supposed to mean?
Could be like symbolism.
I just downloaded VODs and uploaded them to the VODs channel. Hate that VODs expired. I didn't ever open the door. I hate that VODs expired. That's why I have so many highlights. They figured it out, I guess. Yeah, that's a bummer. But it'll be, you know, a lot cleaner now, especially if you start restreaming, and it'll just take care of itself. Do you have editing software outside of this? Like Premiere or Vegas or something? I see the uploads on YouTube and I'm like, Shouty. Oh yeah, because my Discord has notifications. Yeah, I actually, for like 2 months, I was slacking on the VODs. I had them downloaded, so they're just taking up space on my fucking computer. But, I'm gonna start re-uploading those soon. Honestly, the holidays were kind of a nightmare as far as trying to be productive on this stuff.
Precinct police station when Mona Sachs, wanted for the murder of Senator Gate, escaped from custody. The bomb itself.
I'm trying to watch my ASMR videos and your face pops up.
Efforts of the police officers present at the time, but the lives of 2 officers and several felons in custody were lost in the subsequent shooting. Lieutenant Jim Bravura.
I just don't like the idea of uploading a whole stream on YouTube unedited. Yeah, I feel it. Well, you could do what a lot of people do is they'll have like a channel that's dedicated to just VODs, and then they'll have another one with more edited content. That's something I tried to do, but I'm too lazy because I have 2 channels. One of them has 0 followers, the other one has 310, something like that. And it's hard for me to want to migrate. What does Jay do? Jay does that. Jay has 2 streams. He has one where he streams, and then he has one for VODs. Or one for edited, and one for like the VODs and stuff. Me, what I want to do is, because I have at least a willingness, I'm slacking, to do edited content like my Maximo video. And I wanted to have like a channel dedicated to that, and then like my edited highlights, and then another VOD channel. But right now it's kind of a mess of like, it's just one. I don't like it. Dang, TV. You get me in trouble. What's happening? Max Heat. But yeah, that's kind of like the way a lot of people do it. Oh my fucking god. It's hard to wanna go back and edit every single stream too, especially if it's like 6+. Oh, yeah. Especially if you have 600 hours, I wouldn't pause. They're moaning. I was like, what the fuck's happening? That's kind of a nightmare. What you probably could do is just upload the VODs and then maybe start fresh after that. Like maybe trim here or there. Because I wouldn't expect anybody to comb through 600 hours of content. That sucks. Where am I going? Got turned around. Everything looks the same. Where do I go? Good luck with all that, Pocky. Yeah, good luck. Sounds extremely not fun.
Clean Sing cleaning products. After dirty business, come clean with...
Where do I go? I'll go back. Oh, maybe here. Stupid. F5. Oh, what? What? Oh, oh.
Shoot him!
Here goes!
Shoot to kill! Get away!
I see you back there. Nice. I'm just saying for all the memories, but from here on out, we'll be starting fresh with YouTubes. Do you already have a YouTube channel? You can plug it here if you want. I'll follow. If I didn't already, I know if I run into streamers I like and I follow them, I'll be like, oh shit, they got a YouTube, and I'll follow it. I might have already done it if it's linked on your channel.
Get him!
Fire in the coward!
No more grenades! Stop it with the grenades! Max, no! Okay, ooh. Dude, this was Max Payne 1. That grenade totally killed me. That dude was not ready. She's under construction. Okay, okay. I get it. It'd be like that.
Probably more than one. None of them's getting past this point alive.
I remember when people were, well, a couple people were encouraging me to get a Discord. I was like, it's not ready yet. It's not ready. Oh shit. All right, I could do better. I could do better. Here's what's gonna happen.
Take cover!
You know what? I could do even better. Wait, what happened with the phone number thing? Oh, so yeah, they're saying what I have to do is I have to make a new Discord channel. And okay, what did the, hold on, let me pull up the email real quick. Hold on. Let me pull it up. Yeah, I'll stay here so it's quieter. But they were saying something like I'd have to make a new Discord account with an unused email address, use that phone number, and then desync it again or something like that, and then it'll work. It was something weird like that. Let me see what the hell they said. Discord phone number. Something crazy like that. Bro, it sounds tedious. It was a little annoying, which is why I haven't done it yet, but it's something that I should do. Like, it's nice to have that associated. Because I remember trying to log into Discord on my phone. I'm like, why is the phone number not working? That's weird. For what? So Pocky's Discord server requires verification, and I need my phone number. But my phone number, for some reason, is tied to a different Discord that I don't ever remember making. And I had to talk to customer service to figure out how to, like, unsync it. And they can't do it for me, so they gave me like a whole process of like what to do and how to do it, so I can get it associated with my account, you know. Discord. Here we go. Here we go. I hope we. Okay, so if your phone number is not listed in the main account, or you are seeing this phone number is unassociated, there's a possibility that the second account has been created. Currently, you only have one phone number verified with one Discord at a time. If your number is already verified, you won't be able to receive SMS for verification requests on another account. Open incognito mode on a browser, log into Discord by entering my phone number instead of my email, click forget password, enter code from SMS sent to reset your password, log into your account, and head into your user settings, my account. And I should be able to add a new email address by using an email address that is not associated with any Discord, and click remove phone number. So it's a weird process, and then I can associate it, but yeah, I'll do it after stream, probably. Pocky does art streams, and I want to show off some art.
Take care.
Oh yeah, fuck, I forgot. I got distracted. All right. Dual Ingram's time. Oh my. Throw it.
Shoot the kid. Ah! Here goes.
You know what? Hold on. I'm sick of this. Let me try a Molotov instead. You are so good, BB. Thank you. I like showing it with like-minded artists. There we go. God damn it. Hold on. I can do better. You know what? Just we're going in loud. Not with that weapon. All right. F5. Hi, Shuri. Hi, BB. Hi. I just wanted to blow them up. Oh, wait, no, what are you doing, Max? Don't do that. Don't do that next to it. Well, guys die from explosions. There we go. Damn. God damn. You are so good. Shuri. Yeah, Shuri, come here. I can't pet you if you're all the way over there. Come here. Watch. Cat? Being picked up and handled. Oh, I'm sorry, Shuri. It's okay, it's okay. Go. Wanna say hi? Alright, bye. He hates it. I tried. I was gonna move the camera and everything. Who's winning? I'm winning. Shuri's winning. The hearts of America. Shuri hates being picked up and moved and handled and stuff. She hates me. My cat hates me. Dang, it would have been so cool if I blew them up, but it's okay. Wild Mime Jr.? Shit. Oh, also, I'm trying to do my usual playthrough in under 10 cycles in Majora's Mask.
Vlad had said Gugnitti was eliminating the competition.
What do you mean by 10 cycles? I've never heard this term referred to this way.
The room was full of
what cycle again?
Enough to outfit an army. Mona, these guys are packing. Close to overkill. Hardcore professionals.
Because you said something about like 4 dungeons and the last boss. Like, how is that?
What's that supposed to mean?
Are you going to do 10 playthroughs? I'm going to be here lurking while I take care of these bots. Thank you for the good vibes. No problem. Thank you for lurking. And good luck with the VOD stuff. That sounds tedious. More than the Discord stuff. Later, Pocky. Alright, gotta get Amanda. Catch you later. Alright, bye. Tell Amanda I said hi. And before Audie asks, tell her that she says bye too. Hi. Beat you to it. I give her a Keith from me. There you go. I hear somebody coughing. Where they at? No, don't shoot him. Wow. Majora's Mask has a okay 3-day limit before the moon crashes. You can reset the beginning of a day of a 3-day set. That's a cycle. Okay. See, I didn't realize that. I forgot there was a time limit in that one. Ooh, brother. Ooh. What do I do? I beat Majora's Mask in 1 cycle. That sounds awesome. Good shit, brah. What do I do? Grenade? That's not a grenade. Now that's a grenade. I can't survive that jump. Oh, god damn it, Joey. Makes sense now. I had to climb. Oh shit. Oh, you know what? Okay, yeah. This will be good. I thought that would get him. Meaning outside the first cycle where you get the ocarina, I beat the game in the allotted 3 days. Okay. I'm picking up what you're putting down now. Coward! Oh, this idiot just fell. Oh shit. Alright, that worked, I guess.
Who are those guys?
Fuck off. Parkour. Oh, I guess I could just keep going up. I was gonna go down, but I don't got to anymore. Am I trying to get to the roof?
The cleaners
like, I'm always
shed their skins.
Yeah, okay. He's saying some cool shit.
No need for disguises anymore.
Like, I never know if I'm going the right way or not. That's what he sounded like. Hands! Let me see your hands!
Cover me!
Oh shit!
Shoot!
I'm supposed to be there! Oh nice, that was a good headshot. It was an accident, but I'll take it. I mean, I totally meant to do that on purpose. I'm a pro gamer, guys. Pure skill. Oh, I wish Cyber was here so I can say ruthless aggression, and he would get it. He would get that joke. He would get that reference. So cycle is normally 54 minutes IRL time, but you can play the reverse Sanga time to extend it by 3 times. Sounds annoying.
Like always, the dead had all the answers I was missing. It wasn't that they weren't eager to talk. Quite the contrary. The dead had plenty to say. And once they started, they would never shut up. Their words would keep you awake at night. The bodies, all the evidence of all the murders the cleaners had done. All the answers. It would take days to dig through it. Mona.
Not really.
I know this sounds crazy, but I need
once I actually
to
play, I'm sure I'll get the hang of it or get with the program.
You're right. You are crazy. I'm a fugitive, Max.
But just hearing it to me, that sounds annoying.
I wouldn't ask if it wasn't
Go to
necessary.
hell, Max.
Mona? Damn.
Beating the game in under 4 hours.
This cleaner stuff's
Yeah, but you know that game like the back of your hand, it seems.
Hey, there he is! We got him! We got him! No! Stop! The room's full of explosives! Stop! Shoot that shit! Run!
Oh shit!
Max, what's going on?
The building's blowing up. That's what's going on.
Finish the race, of course. Where I go? Oh shit, it's Max Payne 1 all over again! No, 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 no! Down here? Oh shit! God damn it! Alright. Whee! You keep major items but lose consumables, and everyone's schedule gets reset when you cycle reset. Sounds like just a big ass puzzle. And kind of tedious. Like I said, but I'm sure like once I do play it, because it's only a matter of time, you know, try to be like, oh, I see what they were going for. This is awesome. But at the moment, that sounds annoying to me. Ocarina is your favorite one, right? Where am I going? I'm gonna lurk shoddy, but text me in a bit if you want to watch an episode. Yeah, I don't think I'll be playing too much later. I'm going down here. I hit my 3 hours? Hit my 3 hours. Yeah, let me get out of here and I'll figure out what to do. It's gonna blow up. I'm safe. Dude, the MP5 is like kind of like overpowered. Super accurate. The rate of fire is awesome. This game, this weapon sucks. Let me get back out there. Haha. Oh shit! I thought you were all dead. Oh god. Oh shit! Oh, it's on fire. I think I'm good. What? Bitch. When you dead motherfucker just shot me. I could use a little music. A little something, something. Yeah. Oh shit. Looks to be them.
Max, what's happening? Max, come in. Can you hear me?
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Max, answer me, Max.
Oh, and then I think this is where I play as Mona. Good thing for plywood and drywall. Max, no! Oh shit. Boom. Oh, I'm on part 2. Sweet. The cycle I went to the ranch to get my horse, went to the ocean to get the Zora mask, went to the swamp to grab a free red pot, canyon to get stone. This means nothing to me. I don't know what any of this means. Then to the ocean to grab a hook shot, and then one egg back to the ranch to deal with a side quest, and then to the ocean to grab the other 6 eggs.
I'm at the
That was
site.
one cycle.
Where are you?
A condemned building at the edge of the
Sick.
site, headed upstairs.
I'm at the wrong end. I'll try to get to the roof to get a view of the place.
Later, I'm kinda in the middle of something.
Be that
Yeah, this
way.
kind of hinges on you like knowing the game so inside and out, which is great, dude. Let me save. Oh, god damn it, game. Watch save. Took less than an hour to do that. Yeah, there's no way I could do that on my first try. It's good shit. But here's what's gonna happen. Here's what's gonna happen. We're gonna see who's live. And then we're gonna raid out. Then I'm gonna call it a night. But then I should be live tomorrow. I'll be streaming tomorrow. All right. Well, good shit, Groovin. And thank you for everybody that was hanging out. I had fun. I'm gonna fix the Discord stuff. We might do a movie night on Sunday. Still not quite sure. The next Resident Evil is Vendetta, and I love that game, that movie. I almost said game, but I love that movie. That's a good movie. It's stupid and it's anime, basically. Well, I think it's literally anime. But you definitely feel it in the plot. It is bonkers. Got and PUBG and Fortnite U. We got Skyday playing Final Fantasy 7. Oh, we got Emmy Divergent. What is she playing? Nest Night for Wednesday. Nice, I'm gonna steal that. What's she playing? Oh, is this what is that? That's not Star Tropics, is it? Does it do have a yo-yo? Star Tropics? Might be Star Tropics. She also has 309. Who does not have 300? Got Jade Infinite. We got the Vintage Potato. After that, day 2, I grabbed the 4th bottle, and I got 3rd dungeon entrance. Next up is the ranch to deal with another side quest. After that, I'm going to go to the town to do another side quest to get another mask and then reset the cycle. Hell yeah, brother. That sounds a little tedious. But like I said, I'm sure once I start playing that game, I'll be like, oh. Who the fuck do I raid out to? King, 9 souls. Is anybody playing Max Payne? Let's see. Max Payne. Just me? Shut. Yeah. Let's see about Max Payne in general. Deadman Payne is playing Alan Wake 2. Got Lance from Saints playing Max Payne. Who has Matisse? Oh, I played the game so many times. Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm looking at it from a beginner's perspective. Okay. My brother's got 5,000. Okay, I'm gonna raid out to Poop Killer, Flush or Die. What the fuck is this? Never heard of this. Alright, we're gonna raid out to Super Sleepy TV. He plays a lot of Resident Evil and stuff. Raid Shard Limit, I've 100%ed that game so many times too. Nice, I gotta try it. He plays a lot of Resident Evil and shit, but now he's playing a game called Poop Killer, Flush or Die. And I'm just too intrigued to not, you know? So go in there, show him some love. He's good guy, good streamer. And I hope every single fucking one of you has an amazing night, okay? I'm not asking. I'm telling you. Have a good night, okay? If not, I'm gonna do nothing. Except wish the best for you, okay? Now get out there, make good choices. Super Sleepy TV. And be safe. Have a good time. Get rest. Drink water. Eat good meals. And bye-bye.
I don't know.